This is the Big O Show. 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 This is
Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Oh, I think I know what this is. Houston, we have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield home security system guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera, all professionally installed, for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
Why is it that you get locked out in the worst moments of your life?
Where are my car keys? Man, I can't find my house keys.
In those frustrating moments, you need a locksmith you can count on. A. Lenny Locksmiths in South Florida, from Miami to Port St. Lucie. In Central Florida, A. Lenny locks it down in Orlando and Tampa Bay. Lockouts or lock changes for home or business, car key replacements, and programming all model cars. 24-hour service. Call them at 855-869-5625. Go to the website at alennylocksmith.com.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
Welcome to Red Light Therapy, a revolutionary technology perfected by NASA to aid in muscle strengthening and recovery. Red and infrared light has the capacity to penetrate deep into the cell's mitochondria, potentially leading to increased energy, faster recovery, and the optimal performance your body demands. Train, fight, recover.
Statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
Good morning, or terrible morning, however you want to look at it, right? It doesn't matter if you're a Dolphins, if you're a Heat, if you're a Panthers fan, either way. Maybe it's not a good morning in the sports sense. It's a good morning because I was able to wake up again. So, one day I'm not going to be able to wake up. And then, then we're not here anymore. So we're blessed to be here. We're blessed to experience. Were we blessed? I don't know, whatever you call that shit last night by the offense. You can call it whatever you want. One of the things that I've said over the years about our show is we're not for everybody, man. We're not for everybody. And we're going to be honest. And some of the folks that are big oh, wait a minute. What am I not happened? What did I do? Ah, there we go. Okay. Were you able to hear me at least? Were you able to hear me? Yeah, you were able to hear me at least, right? You couldn't see me, but you were able to hear me. Anyway, so this is not the show for everybody. This is not the show if you don't want to hear honesty on what's going on overall. Not saying that I see it perfectly or anything like that. Of course not, because we're all human and we're going to make mistakes. But we call it like we see it here. And just because I am a huge two-and-on guy and everything, all right, it's not going to stop me from telling you he sucked. He choked like a dog the last 2 weeks. And this, some guy was like, oh, my God, you're giving fuel to the two-and-on haters or whatever and all that. And you gave them the material now. Tua, you gave them the material now. All those people that doubt you, you just gave them 2 weeks of material, 2 weeks for them to use. I can't use it to defend you. Do I believe in Tua? Hell yeah, I believe in Tua. But what am I going to do the last 2 weeks? Am I going to make excuses? No, dude, you sucked. You choked like a dog the last 2 weeks. And McDaniel yesterday was outcoached, and it was embarrassing. I don't blame McDaniel against San Francisco, but I do blame him yesterday. He was terrible yesterday. And it's been all on the offense. That's it. There's no other way to phrase it. There's no other way to describe it. The Dolphins look like frauds. That's all. Tua looks like a fraud right now. I don't think he is. I don't believe he is. But I can't do anything about it, dude. You look like Ryan Tannehill here in the last 2 weeks. Moment too big, you get flustered, and you're throwing the ball all over the place. There's nothing to defend for the Miami Dolphins in these last 2 games. Nothing. Both of them were very winnable games. The defense did more than enough for you to win those games, and you failed the defense. In fact, the defense has done everything for you to win every single game this season, all 13. But the offense has failed in 5 of those 13 games. By the way, pretty good run for Josh Boyer and his unit. Think about that one, okay? His unit has not cost this team one single game. His unit has played well enough to win every single game this season. It's the offense that has either won or lost all the games, including last night. I mean, last night they talk about Justin Herbert, and he could only produce 1 touchdown. You want to know the funny part about the whole Justin Herbert performance last night? He had a good performance last night. He showed up, Tua didn't. And he made some really nice throws, of course, because he's super talented. But in the end, that performance wasn't as good as people make it out to be. When you throw for 370 yards and you only throw for 1 touchdown, that's not impressive. You get into the red zone and you're forced to settle for field goals. Here's what I would tell anybody that goes crazy about Justin Herbert's performance yesterday. So what happens if the Dolphins get lucky and by some miracle score a touchdown at the end of that game and win 24-23? How does Justin Herbert's performance then look? Then they'll go back and they'll go, he threw for 370 yards, but he only threw 1 touchdown. And they lost the game. You mean he threw for all those yards and they ended up settling for field goals? That's why they lost the game, because Justin couldn't get more touchdowns. Everything would have changed. All right, you throw for 300. Tua threw for 100 and 40 yards, right? 145 yards. Justin Herbert threw for 367. They both threw for the same amount of touchdowns. So defense did their job. But the offense didn't. And that's the only way this can be phrased. There's no other way it can be phrased. Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa have absolutely failed in the last 2 weeks. That's all. And they better figure it out, because right now they look like frauds. Right now it looks like the same old Dolphins, right? I mean, that's just the feeling after 2 weeks. That's the way the NFL goes. You win a couple games, you're on top of the world. You're going to win the Super Bowl. You're going to win 8 Super Bowls. You lose 2 weeks in a row, life is over. And, the season's done and everybody gets fired and all that kind of stuff. That's what ends up happening. That's the NFL for you. That's the ebbs and flows of the NFL, the peaks and valleys, baby. And you got to deal with it. And right now, Mike McDaniel has to deal with the fact that he got his ass out-coached yesterday. Badly. He didn't help his team out. He didn't help his quarterback out. And the quarterback, well, there's no excuses for Tua. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for Tua. Okay? Just because I love the Dolphins, just because I love the Panthers or the Heat or the Marlins or the Canes or Inter Miami or whatever, it's not going to stop me from telling you exactly what's going on. It hurts. It sucks to watch the Panthers struggle the way they have with Paul Maurice. It sucks to watch the Miami Heat never play defense anymore. And it sucks to watch the Miami Dolphins after you've won 5 in a row and you're going out on an important West Coast trip and an important stretch in your season that will test you, and you fail miserably. And not only that, you know what's the worst part about it is? You failed in your so-called strength. And we keep saying that it's the offense, but the defense at least does their job. But the offense, it's hit or miss. It's hurt or turd. Okay, and for those of you that don't know, just in case, if you didn't tune in late last night, which I understand, the post-game show, we now have the Amber Heard offense. Okay, everybody knows Amber Heard out there, very beautiful girl, maybe a few sandwiches short of a picnic. Okay. What do they say about crazy women? Great sex, right? Supposedly, that's what they say about crazy women, right? Great sex. Well, we're Johnny Depp, and the Dolphin offense is Amber Heard. And so now we will ask you every week, are we getting a herd or a turd? Because, see, you could have great sex one night with Amber Heard, and then the next night, you got a turd in your bed. And that's exactly the Miami Dolphins offense. One night, it's great sex with the crazy, beautiful Amber Heard. And the next night, you go to your bed and there's a big turd there because Amber decided to leave you a turd. So the question we will ask every week now, what Dolphin offense will face the Buffalo Bills this week? Will it be the herd or the turd? That's the question, because that is Mike McDaniel's offense now. It's Amber Heard, the herd or the turd, one of the two. Because that's what I felt like yesterday. You left me a turd in my bed. What did I feel like in the San Fran game? You left a turd in my bed. 2 weeks in a row, I've got to go buy a new mattress. Thanks, McDaniel. Thanks, Tua. Really appreciate that. A lot. Really appreciate it. We're only trying to overcome choking Dolphin teams down the stretch. We're only trying to overcome choking quarterbacks down the stretch. We're only trying to overcome a team that doesn't make the playoffs practically every year. And what did you guys do the last 2 weeks? Remind us of the teams we're trying to avoid the last 20-something years. But you got 4 games left. You got plenty of time to make people forget about it. Do I have any confidence this week? I have none. None. I can't muster any kind of confidence, and trust me, it will not change by Friday or Saturday. I will not have any confidence in this team. They now have to regain my confidence now. Mike McDaniel needs to regain my confidence. Tua Tagovailoa needs to regain my confidence now. Because he looks like he's completely lost. I don't know what the hell happened to the kid. I can't explain it. I'm not smart enough. I'm not that kind of a shrink or anything that can figure these things out. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. So I don't know what the hell to figure out here with what's going on with them. But they better figure it out with a quickness. because I don't know how you play elite passing and then all of a sudden you forget to do it. And I don't want to hear this crap about, well, they're trying to take away the middle of the field and this and that, and they're not running the ball and all that. Hey, listen, I get it. You all are listening to everybody else and you're all repeating the same things. I understand what's going on. I know. And I know the typical complaints. I got a generic complaint from somebody I know. McDaniel doesn't run the ball. Tua only throws to Tyreek. Chubb got way too much money. Okay, great. I got it. You guys are all parrots. You're all repeating the obvious stuff. Thank you. I appreciate shedding light on what's going on. That's fantastic. Okay. Anyway. What can I tell you, folks? What can I tell you? Tonight, Monday Night Football, Sports Grill's got 7 great locations. The 8th location's about to open in Doral. Right now, $1.50 Bud Light drafts and bottles during NCAA and NFL games. So remember, we still got the bowl games going on when they show up. You got those deals going on tonight with the NFL games. You got those deals going on. They added cherry lemonade and tailgate tea now. New cocktails, which are only $5 during NCAA and NFL games. Domestic pitchers, $12. Bone-in wings are now 15% off. And the buttermilk chicken sandwich is absolutely delicious. I love them. The buffalo tater tots, awesome. And they're selling their sauces. And you know that Sports Grill is known for their sauces. So the buffalo sauce, the Miami Heat, the blackberry, the barbecue, the dale, they've got them all. Today is Monday, and our Kendall location has got the milkshakes going on and the rock and roll music all night long. 7 great locations. Go to sportsgrill.com, baby, and tell them Big O sent you. You will enjoy yourself there. Great food. By the way, the chicken parm sandwich. I love the chicken parm sandwich over at Sports Grill. Just telling you a little item. Of course, we all know the special grilled wings are to die for. Those are my favorite wings. Those things are just absolutely crazy. But the chicken parm sandwich is one that I dabble in every once in a while. Alexa V, by the way, turned me on to that one last year during the season. I had never tried that on the menu, and I tried it, and it was I've been hooked on the chicken parm sandwich. Tiger Shark Tony says, we are in a valley, but I think the Finns will bounce back. What other choice do they have? We will not go silent into the good night. Fins up. I hope you're right, my brother. You know, it all sounds well and good and rah and all that, but Dan Muller, thank you for the love on the super chat. Do you think teams figured out Miami's passing game, or Miami believing its own hype? It's like a switch was turned off. Even wide receivers are dropping balls. Yeah, the wide receivers were also a little out of sync yesterday, especially Tyreek. I don't know what the hell happened with Tyreek yesterday. Marino Castillo says, thank you for the love in the super chat, Marino. Big O still can't process what has happened the last 10 quarters. Haven't been this sad and worried in a while. Did we get fooled? I don't know. We're going to find out if we all got fooled for these next 4 games, right? If they got any character in them, if they are the real offense we thought they were, well, then they're going to respond. And if they don't, then we know that they're frauds. Right now, they look like absolute frauds. And there's no other way of looking at it, unfortunately. I'd love to tell you something different, but I can't. By the way, you can also make a donation through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show on Cash App or Venmo. And let me make sure, by the way. Okay. Adam Stream on Venmo. Thank you, sir. He says, Tua's total trash and will never be anything more. Please stop the narrative and tell your fans the truth. I know you're just acting, but some of them actually believe you. Okay, well, I'm not acting, my brother. Did I act when I told you that Flo was getting fired? No, I don't think so. I don't do that, my brother. You know, Adam, I appreciate the Venmo. Thank you, but you must be really new to this show. That's what it is. You're a newbie. So since you're a newbie and you obviously don't know jack shit about me, it's I tell you straight up what I feel. I don't care who you are. I don't care if I'm standing in front of you. I don't care if you're on the phone with me. I don't care if you're on the show. I don't care if I'm talking to a sponsor, my best friend, my wife, my daughter. None of it matters to me. My boss, none of it matters to me. Okay? I tell you what I feel, period. Okay? Now, if you think it's some kind of shtick, you really don't know me. Again, you're new to this show. Anybody that's watched this show for years, they know that I don't play that game. So none of it is shtick. But that's all right. It's all good. It's all good. The Tua haters right now and disbelievers, you have all the ammunition your heart desires. So now, you wanted him to fail. You're getting it right now. You wanted the Dolphins to fail. You're getting it right now. So whether you're a Tua hater believer, as a Dolphins fan, you're getting what you want now. And if you're a fan of the Bills or the Patriots or whatever it is, dude, have at it. Knock yourselves out. You can get drunk on the failures of the Dolphins offense the last 2 weeks. You have all the material in the world, and we have none. We have zero. I have nothing to stand on the last 2 weeks. I can't defend Tua whatsoever. Zero. Those are the facts. Tua has to defend himself now. No excuses. I'm not giving you, hey, it's the coaching, it's the players, like I did the last 2 years. I don't have that excuse. I don't have that excuse. And I'm not giving you an excuse. If there's an excuse, then I'll tell you that's legitimate. This is what's going on. There are no legitimate issues going on with Tua Tagovailoa. Okay? Unless you tell me right now that a family member of his is gravely ill and, whatever, and that's on his mind, you know what I mean? Then that's about the only thing I could understand what would throw him off, that he'd have a really close family member gravely ill and we don't know anything about it. And he's trying to fight through it. And nobody knows except him and McDaniel or something. And then we find out later, right? That kind of shit, which I don't think that's the case. There are no excuses for Tua. Zero. And right now, all of you Tua haters, you got all the material you need. And we have to sit back and wait and see how he answers back over the next 4 weeks. Because I expected him to bounce back strong last night. And he had every opportunity, bro. The Chargers really didn't do much. The Dolphins played like crap and lost by 6 points. Everything was there for them to take it. They couldn't muster one more touchdown drive. Think about that. One more touchdown drive. They couldn't even muster. That's how bad that team is right now. Shit, the only good thing that came out of it, defense played well enough to win, as always, and that Sanders hit a 55-yard field goal. That's it. Like, okay, well, at least the field goal kicker, got a 55-yarder. Maybe he's, he could get back on track now. That might be your best offense right now. So if you're looking for excuses, you're looking for me to point fingers like I did last year when it was deserving, you're not going to get that here. You're not going to get that here. Sorry. It's not my style. Manuel Malo. Tua has been bad. It's worrying something. It's up with McDaniels being stubborn with his lack of adaptability, in his play calling. Something has to give. Well, yesterday, McDaniel was terrible. Play calling, whatever. Look, I don't think running is going to save you, but the running backs They got 4 yards a carry yesterday, 16 for 64 yards. Now, it is a little deceiving because Wilson was 4 for 26 and he had a 20-yard run. So the other 3 runs were for, 2 yards each. And Mostert was 11 for 37 and he had a 13-yard run. So the other 24 were on 10 carries. You know what I'm saying? Relax on the running game. It wasn't going to save you, but he could have used the running game a little more. Does that make a difference in this game? Enough? I don't know. I don't think so. But he should have at least used a little bit more. And then you've got to, change it up in the passing game. You got to find ways to get the ball to people. And if they're cluttering the middle of the field a little bit more, then work the sides. I mean, you're the offensive genius. And that's your quarterback. So fix the issues. And you didn't fix the issues. So McDaniel gets a ton of the blame yesterday along with Tua. Okay? Yeah, and the receivers also weren't perfect and all that. Hey, Teron Armstead played yesterday. He got through the entire game, and he played all right. I haven't looked at the game again. I think I'll do it tonight, maybe. I don't know. Just so disappointing to watch again. It's just pretty pathetic. And just to know that, that he did all right just makes you even more frustrated with it. Lack of time of possession is killing the team. Well, Josh, I'm glad you brought that up because the most asinine discussion going on is the defense and Josh Boyer. That's the most ridiculous conversation going on right now. Josh Boyer's defense has done more than enough to win every single game this season. And in the last 2 games, the Dolphin offense has been on the field for 40 minutes and the Dolphin defense for 80. Let me repeat that again. In the last 2 games, the Dolphin offense has been on the field for 40 minutes and the Dolphin defense for 80. 80. Okay? And the defense gave you an opportunity to win both games. You served them up, and now they have a short week to recover and now go to Buffalo. I said it last night. I'll repeat it again. What the offense has done to the defense this year is purely criminal. It's as irresponsible as it gets. They keep handing a turd to them. Okay? They rarely get heard. They always get a turd. You can't win like that. And anybody pointing fingers, I don't care about that wacky 3rd down call. As I told Marcel yesterday, and I'll tell all of you out there, a touchdown or a field goal, does it matter? You still win the game. Dolphins still lose the game. They still can't drive. They still can't score. So it doesn't matter what happened in that 3rd down. The defense did more than enough for you to win the game. On offense, you completely failed. Justin Herbert threw for 370 yards, and the guy could only throw 1 touchdown. What more do you want from the defense? A defense that is completely injury-riddled. And yeah, Bradley Chubb hasn't shown up yet. I get all of that. But having said that and anything else, the defense did more than enough for you to win that game. The offense failed. You cannot keep the defense on the field twice as much as the offense every week. And then you can't turn around ignorantly and try to blame the defense for anything that's gone on, dude. Christian Wilkins played better than the entire offense. Jalen Phillips played better than the entire offense. Kader Kohu played better than the entire offense. One guy outplayed their entire offense. I'd rather have the effort of Christian Wilkins than any goddamn person on offense. Can't do this, man. You cannot do this. And blaming the defense is ignorant as hell. They got nothing to do with 8-5. They have everything to do with 8-0. They got nothing to do with 0-5. That's all on the offense. That's all on Mike McDaniel and his staff. That's what goes on. Stop blaming the defense, dude. It's lazy to point out that third down when they did more than enough to help you win the game. Josh Boyer, for some of you that think he deserves to get fired, no, he deserves a raise. That's what he deserves. Give him a raise for what he's done this year, for what he has tolerated on offense, for the reason why you're 8-5 right now, because you should have 10, 12 wins right now instead, because that's what he's done. He's helped you to get to 10 or 12 wins with a patchwork defense. Everybody, Chris Collinsworth made love to Justin Herbert last night. I had Marcel Louis-Jacques last night on the postgame show wanting an autograph and to take pictures. I think he might have drove Justin Herbert home before he went to the airport. Okay? And the guy flung it around, but he scored one touchdown. Dolphin offense shows up. All of a sudden, Justin Herbert's night doesn't look nearly as good. People say, yeah, no, there's a lot of yards, but no points. One touchdown. Like, you can't do that. That's fine. Narratives. That's fine. Spin it however you want. For that defense to only allow one touchdown after all that going on, that was a damn good job by them. Damn good job. So, it is what it is. I agree, Big O. D is keeping the team in every game, even as much yards as they give up. They always keep it close, and look at what they're working with. It's a mash unit. Well, it's said that if you have a toothache, just slam your junk in a car door and your tooth will be forgotten. So I'm 16 hours into the Yoko Ono listening session to make the pain go away. It's worse. So, Big O, you don't blame an X factor that won't even finger tap a wide receiver, allowing him to get up and run more. He doesn't care. No, I get, but you can't blame Boyer for that. You see what I'm saying? Is that Boyer's fault that X is a shell of what he used to be? Is it Boyer's fault that X doesn't touch the guy? That's not Boyer's fault. A couple weeks ago when Duke Riley slips and the guy gets behind him, is that Boyer's fault that the guy slipped? I can't blame Boyer for that. X has to be a professional on his own, NorCal. At the same time, did you watch Kader Kohu? Because that's Boyer's boy. You see what I'm saying, NorCal? X is his own man. We all know that. He worries about his money, all that. Hey, listen, NorCal, I don't know. Somebody said to trade X 18 months ago, and you all thought I was crazy, or like that other idiot that thinks I do things for shtick. He just started listening. But if he would have heard me 18 months ago that you need to trade X, right? All you prisoners of the moment, right? Oh, 10 interceptions. No, you can't do that. He's going to intercept the ball 10 times every year. What can I tell you, my brother? But Josh Boyer's guy, Kader Kohu, who he scouted, was the best defensive back on the field last night. So we crediting Boyer for that? Chris Collinsworth makes me want to puke every game he broadcasts when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. He's always against us every time. I don't know about that. All I know is I was just laughing at the love affair with Herbert last night. And El Colonel says, wasn't it you, Big O? It says this team now depends on the offense to win games like Marino's days, brother. What the F? Tua can't carry a Martini's jockstrap. You're right. You're 1,000% right. And yes, the offense has to carry them. This is not a great defense. They're playing over their heads, and they're doing more than enough to keep you in all these games to win it. They're not going to win the games for you, okay? But they're keeping you in all of the games. And the offense is what has to bail them out. And they didn't bail them out yesterday or last week. The offense choked, bro. There's no other way of phrasing it. NorCal says, I wanted X out too. He's a me guy, not a team guy. I don't blame Boyer. I blame X for defense. He's a loser. Joseph Blasetti, thank you for the love on the super chat. It's the same old crap with this team. I have no defense. I can't defend Tua. I can't defend the Dolphins. I can't defend any of this. I can defend Boyer in the defense, and I will defend Boyer in the defense because I'm going to blame the offense because that's where the blame goes. You guys can nitpick a play here or there, but I'm not blaming Boyer for any of that. And even that wacky-ass 3rd and 15, their execution, they had a better opportunity to tackle him even farther from the goal line, and they were just, terrible at that. That's all. I mean, they got a bunch of backups at this point. They got guys that should not be playing, and then they've got some underachievers too. And right now, do I blame Boyer because Bradley Chubb is not getting his job done? Chubb, you got your money, bro. You got your contract. What are you going to do? And Bradley Chubb deserves to get a lot of heat right now because he's not doing jack shit to help this team out. Jalen Phillips is playing his ass off. He has played well all year long. Even when he wasn't getting the sacks, he was one of the few that was getting some pressure on the quarterback. And yesterday, obviously, he played well. Christian Wilkins was outstanding. Kader Kohu was all over the place. I don't know, man. It's hard to back up anything that's going on with that offense right now. Big O, the O-line can't run block to save their lives. William, they were never run blocking in the first place. They occasionally they have some success, but right now, the fact that they can pass block more often than not is already a monster progress for this team. You've had injuries at your left tackle, injuries at your right tackle, injuries at left guard, and so you've had to shuffle people around at times. To expect also this team to be successful running the ball, it's a little too much. The fact that they give Tua more than enough time to pass on most every game, that's way more progress than they have the last couple of years when they couldn't give their quarterbacks any time to pass the ball. Only 3 positives from last night: Wilkins, Phillips, and Saunders. No, I'm going to give Kader Kohu a positive, my brother. Disagree with you on that one. Kohu, I thought, played really, really well. Baker has 25 tackles in 2 games. That's solid. Our linebackers are not the problem. No. Depends on how you want to look at Bradley Chubb, linebacker, outside, pass rusher, whatever the hell, but he's not doing his job. Big O, I'm also not a Herbert fan, but he played good and did what he had to do to put his team in a good position to win and pin us in a corner. Exactly. That's exactly how he played last night to extreme. You are right. Was it some great performance like they're making it out to be? No. No. He did enough. He wasn't challenged. If the Dolphins offense challenges him and they score more points and then he has to play catch up and doesn't, the whole narrative completely changes. McD has gotten tunnel vision with the passing game, too much beef up front to not be running, but it's a mentality you have to lean into it. And it's weird because he comes from a run-oriented offense in San Francisco, which he was the run game coordinator also. So you would figure a guy that knows run game and scheme, not just pass, but he is, you are correct, too pass happy. And he doesn't settle down and take the easier stuff. And Tua also needs to do a lot more checkdowns. You have the talent that you can take the 3 or 4 yarder, keep taking that. That's what makes the great quarterbacks what they are. It's funny how people will complain about dinking and dunking and this and that, but that's why Peyton Manning has so many yards and Tom Brady and Joe Montana and a lot of these guys, a lot of the great quarterbacks, they took all those short passes. But if you're going to play the game where you're constantly trying to dial stuff up, then you're lowering your percentages and you're not giving your offense the same kind of ability to stay on the field and manufacture longer possessions. And there are times where I'm watching them and they're taking deep shots last night. And I'm like, can you keep it a little bit more simple? I can't answer what the hell's going on at all. Okay. The only thing I can say is that the offense has pulled an amazing choke job in the last 2 weeks. And see, now it comes out. Here we go. And you can't do anything about this. Tua has looked for this. The first 12 weeks, 115 passer rating. Last 2 weeks, 73. Touchdown to interception ratio, 19-3 in the first 12 weeks, 3-2 in the last 2 weeks. Win-loss record, 8-1 in the first 12 weeks, 0-2 the last 2 weeks. Completion percentage, 69.7 the first 12 weeks. Last 2 weeks, 45.9. That's gasoline to the fire. That's igniting the bitch with a dynamite stick. That's what that is. That's just not gasoline. You throw a dynamite stick in there too. And all the Tua haters and disbelievers, you gave them all the material they needed. And guys like me, we got nothing to stand on. Last year, I had plenty to stand on. I got nothing to stand on here. Nothing. There are no excuses. Reality is, he hasn't gotten the job done. That's it. Sucks, but that's the reality, man. I made a joke last night that our own fan base bullied this kid so hard about deep balls that now 3 primetime games, I've noticed he forces deep throws for no reason to prove a point. Whatever it is, they're completely out of sync, man. You know, we all can have our, he's out of sync. He's forcing this. He's choking. The defenses have gotten confused. They've figured them out. Whatever man, I don't know. Okay. We all have our opinions. You know, last week I gave him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he was just trying too hard for McDaniel, and that is possible. But then when you follow it up with this week, I got nothing for you, bro. I got nothing for you except that's a big-ass choke job the last 2 weeks. And now, dude, now you need to respond. And if you don't respond, well, then guess what? Now you're giving them all the fuel to the fire that you're really not that guy. So, right, Rodney, Tua proving his haters right. Exactly. That's what he did. For many weeks, he proved us right, and now he's proving us wrong. And he's got to get back on the right track. We need Tua to get back on the right track. Now, the thing is, how do you have any confidence that he can do it this week against that team, which is better than the last two teams you just played? And by the way, the team you just played is not very good. You lost to a mediocre Chargers team. That's the worst part. At least San Francisco's got a really good team. The young quarterback was the one ingredient that you think you could maybe, find the weakness in and try to overcome, right? But the young guy played his ass off. Meanwhile, their team is fantastic. So the kid, all he had to do was manage, make a couple plays, and that's it. But the Chargers are not a fantastic team. They're a mediocre team. And you lost to a mediocre team. It's bad, man. Big O, it's not what you want to do in September and October and November. It's the teams that rise to the top in December. Dolphins 0-2. Yes, I know, Richard. Thank you. I appreciate the obvious point. Time to call Mercury Morris to undo the witchcraft spell he made on Shula almost 50 years ago. Maybe the curse continues. Maybe they just suck the last 2 weeks, and they need to fix whatever the hell is wrong with them. And that's the other thing that you got from here on out. You either got to prove that what you did early on was the real deal and that this is the aberration, because that's what's going to go on now. This is what you've earned, unfortunately. So a lot of people are going to believe same old Dolphins. A lot of people are going to believe, oh, you see, they got exposed. A lot of people are going to believe, oh, they figured out, the genius in McDaniel because he was rolling, right? And then all of a sudden, he's hit this wall the last 2 weeks. And you had Tua. You got Armstead back this week. What's the excuse? Why aren't you creative enough to get Cedric Wilson and Sherfield and Gesicki more involved? If Tyreek is injured like he looks injured, and Waddle tweaked an ankle a couple weeks ago, why aren't you getting other people involved? Why aren't you finding a way to get Tua back on track? Plenty of folks to point the finger at on offense. So, we'll see. Need to establish short passing game to get rhythm and open up middle and deep. Same formula that Chargers used. Yeah, I agree. But that's on McDaniel, and that's on Tua. And you've got plenty of weapons. Stop leaning on only two of them. Okay? When Tyreek, early in that game, he's forcing the ball to Tyreek, who's covered by 3 to 4 guys. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Why aren't you finding somebody else? If there are 3 to 4 guys around Tyreek, then that means other guys are open. What are you doing? And those are the things that went on that I just didn't understand at times with the Dolphins. With Tua especially. And McDaniel. How you're not correcting that right away is beyond me. Let's see. Been saying all season about Gesicki. The genius thinks it's a great idea to take the ball out of his hands and make him block. Well, he doesn't even block much, bro. They don't put him there to block that much. They're playing Durham Smythe more. That's the problem, that you're not finding a way to get those other guys involved and make life a little easier for Tua. because at least Gesicki's a big target. He can get up in the air. He can high point the ball. Remember the end zone throw? That's high pointing the ball for both. Tua putting it in the vicinity where Gesicki can high point it, and Gesicki's skill set to high point the ball. Why isn't that being used more often? I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't make any sense. No one else on the team can jump that high and get up there like Gesicki can, because he's obviously bigger than all these receivers, and he's very athletic for a big guy. Why isn't the genius using that? And these are going to be all the fair criticisms for Mike McDaniel and for Tua Tagovailoa down the stretch. And they're going to have to fix it in order for those of us that defend them to have any kind of material. And more importantly, forget about the crap that we go back and forth and argue about whether Tua can be the guy or not, or if McDaniel this or that. But if you're going to make the playoffs, dude, if you want to prove that you're the coach, well, then here's the time. What the last thing you can't be is you can't be a Ryan Tannehill and miss the playoffs. You can't go the other way now, like a lot of Dolphin teams have done in the past, that they get tripped up after a nice run, and then it was all a mirage, and the team folds like a cheap tent. And if that happens to you the rest of the way, oh my God, there is nothing to defend you whatsoever at that point. Remember, at noon, Andy Behrens is going to join us, and he will answer your fantasy football questions, like Tua versus the Bills on the road this week. Anyway, so send in your questions on the Welt and Rayom text line at 855-912-1056. That's 855-912-1056 on the Welt and Rayom text line. Of course, if you want to also send in your fantasy questions on Twitter, you can do that at Big O Show. As always, that, my friends, is a 24-hour talk show. Let me see what we got here on the Welt and Rayom text line, 855-912-1056. I'm sure it's going to be very interesting and probably very emotional too on the Welt and Rayom text line. Sealer also had a good game. It's the second time he stonewalls somebody on the line with no one giving him support to finish the play. Last week against Purdy, yesterday stopping Eckler, but Eckler then just rolled off just because Sealer had no help. No, I listen, I'm with you. There's a line that goes through it, so I don't know. It's weird. Some of you guys get this. You send in a text, and then there's this line that goes through it, and I can't read the rest of it. Hey, Tua haters, shut up. Tua lovers, shut up. Can we now come together and just enjoy the season now? Because at the end of the day, all the fans will be the ones hurting if we fall. First of all, there's no enjoying the season. That's done right now. I'm not enjoying anything the last 2 weeks. In fact, the last 2 weeks has put a damper on the entire season. This is no longer, a season that I'm impressed with anymore because of these last 2 losses. So you want to impress me? You better finish strong. You better finish 3-1. You want to impress me. Okay? Or 4-0. One of those two. You go 2-2, and I'm really not that impressed with the season. Got to be honest. You inherited a 9 or 10 win team. And after all that, your offense is the reason why you didn't do better. That's sad. So I'm far from enjoying anything right now. What has happened the last 2 weeks is unacceptable. Remember the Lions game when McDaniel told Boyer to get this crap fixed? Now it's McDaniel. Again, Ohio John, name one game, name one loss. You blame the defense. There are none. There are no games. All of the games, all of the failures have been all offense. Boyer had his stuff, and Eric Ezukama is not helping enough already. Please, those are the laziest takes out there. The Eric Ezukama take. They don't need Eric Ezukama. They've got more than enough receivers. They need to use the other receivers. They got guys there that they're not using. Last night, you could use Cedric Wilson more. You can use Trent Sherfield more, and you didn't. You don't need to get to Eric Ezukama. Those are lazy takes. So Marcel had an epiphany on Herbert. Whoopie-doo. I mean, yeah, he was. I think he was getting an autograph and everything from Justin Herbert. He saw it firsthand. Big O, you see Greer and company getting canned now? No. Why would you do that? You can't do anything until you actually have, the entire season. I get it, my brother. You were never a believer in any of this. So it's understandable. You probably never believed in Greer. You never believed in Tua. You never believed in any of this. So now, you get your opportunity. Like all the Tua haters, you get to come back out again and pound your chest and pound the guy. And then those of you out there that never believed in the season and you thought it was the same old Dolphins, you could come out and pound your chest and say, same old Dolphins. Dave Hyde was, this is the same old Dolphins. And look, guess what? Dave Hyde right now is right. Last 2 weeks, they've made them look like the same old Dolphins. So I understand the ebbs and flows and all that's going on. But I wait till kind of the season's over. I don't say that the game's over in the first quarter like some of you out there. I kind of wait till it's like really over. And then we can kind of assess what's going on. So, yeah, I get it. The problem is, the problem with what was your name again? Well, whatever it was your name is, I would appreciate a less cowardly approach if you actually told me that you would fire Greer 5 weeks ago. Then I know you were consistent. But now you're just another typical lazy fan that, just like this lazy fan, that just repeats, what's it called? McDaniel doesn't run the ball. Tua only throws to Tyreek, and Chubb got way too much money. That's the lazy fan take, like the obvious fan take. And so then one person repeats it after another. And so now, it's chic to say, well, fire, you shouldn't have drafted Tua, fire Greer, and McDaniel's a fraud. I get all of that. You'll get some respect from me if I actually knew you said this before. You know what I mean? But now it's just another one of those lazy takes like, oh, the 3rd and 15. Oh, what a weird call. Did it have anything to do with the loss? Okay, thank you for playing. Doesn't really matter in the end. They end up with a field goal or a touchdown. Who gives a shit? They win by 6 or they win by 2. Who cares? They still win the game. And the Dolphins had no chance at winning anyway. But whatever, man. Hit the like button, by the way. That's what you should do. So, our wide receivers were getting seriously checked at the line, and they are small, light players who can't get back into the timing of the play. Also, Tua seems hurt, and seems hurt and in his own head. Well, I don't think he's hurt. I don't think so. Now, could be in his head. And the wide receivers getting off the line, Dougie, they got speed. They should be able to get off the line and get separation. Now, maybe their ankle injuries aren't allowing them to get the cut and separation that they need early on, because that's kind of what helps them. Big O, how about the roughing the call on us? Bad call. Terrible call on the defense, by the way. The one that did enough for you to win. Terrible call, but I'm not blaming the referees. I'm blaming Tua and I'm blaming McDaniel and the offense and the receivers. Last week, it was all on Tua. This week, it's on Tua, McDaniel, and some of the offensive players who were a little out of sync themselves, because even Tyreek was, even though he made some plays, he made some great plays, but he also, there were a couple plays that were like, yo, Tyreek, what's going on? A drop, and then the other one that he lost in the lights, which he could have made a play on that ball. I don't know. It was kind of an odd game also for Tyreek, and maybe the injury is playing a little bit with him too. You know. So, anyway, people are coming up with weird takes this morning. Oh, that's once you lose, they can all come out with all kinds of weird takes. You know. Tua is not hurt. Tua is exposed and not good enough. You know, even if I don't believe that, what are you going to do? You know, it's up to Tua to prove it now. That he didn't get exposed, that he's real, that what he did early on, you know, there's nothing to defend right now for Tua and the Miami Dolphins. Zero to defend. You know? This is so frustrating. Dolphins do this every December. So hard to be a fan, and you think you have a chance, and it just gets dashed. I honestly think you will not win another game. Well, if you don't win another game, whoo, boy, that's a bad look. I don't believe that's going to be the case. I certainly don't give them a chance this week. If the offense that showed up the last 2 weeks is the one that's going up to Buffalo, no shot. Zero. Now, if somehow they can wake up and play a completely different brand of offense, then that would be a pleasant surprise on Saturday night. But I'm expecting a long post-game show, a torturous post-game show after 3 brutal weeks and 3 brutal losses. And let me tell you something. As I said last night, if you think Josh Allen's going to throw for 370 yards and just 1 touchdown, you're out of your mind. Okay? Josh Allen, if he throws for 370 against the Dolphins, he's going to put up at least 3 or 4 touchdowns. And it won't be a 6-point game. You're going to lose by a hell of a lot more. Okay? Because his drives won't end up for field goals like Justin. His will end up with touchdowns. One way or the other, whether he throws it in or he runs it in. But he's going to punish the Dolphins if he has a chance, like he's done in the past. So if this offense is the one that's going to show up on Saturday, the Dolphins stand no chance in winning this game. 0. They better find the offense from several weeks ago. Because if they don't have that offense, they don't have a chance. And I don't know how Tyreek gets healthy in a short week. That's tough. It's hard to ask any more from Tyreek. He has been an absolute stud. You know, yesterday he had a couple of brain farts, but he's been so awesome. It's hard to really, like, I can pick on Tua for the last 2 weeks, and I can certainly really pick on McDaniel. And yeah, Tyreek wasn't perfect, but my God, what he's done all year, and he scored 2 touchdowns. You know, it's hard to, I know he wasn't perfect, and he screwed up some yesterday, but man, that's tough. All right, 1 hour down. Give me a couple minutes here. Rest of voice. Hour number 2. Alan Poopart will join us at 11:30. He will give us his breakdown on that disaster, that choke job. And Andy Behrens, remember, answers your fantasy football questions at noon. If you don't want don't send in the fantasy questions right now on the chat board. Okay, now you can send them in on the Welton Rayom text line, because there they won't get lost, and I can keep track of them there. So if you have a fantasy question at noon, even if you're not going to be around, you can go back and listen to the segment on your on demand if you want to watch it, and you'll see your question there, maybe, probably. So send it in on the Welt and Rayom text line at 855-912-1056. You can also send it in on Twitter at Big O Show. I'll see it there also, and I can ask Andy at noon. Alan Poopart at 11:30. Hour number 2 is next.
Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Oh, great. You have a doorbell camera. Now you have a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
They're breaking into my house!
Ooh, there goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No, not the TV!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them.
With Slogans, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation.
Plus, free doorbell camera, one that'll actually work for you.
Get out of my house!
Get out of the house! Call 1-800-ALARM-ME.
Why is it that you get locked out in the worst moments of your life?
Where are my car keys? Man, I can't find my house keys.
In those frustrating moments, you need a locksmith you can count on. A. Lenny Locksmiths in South Florida, from Miami to Port St. Lucie. In Central Florida, A. Lenny locks it down in Orlando and Tampa Bay. Lockouts or lock changes for home or business. Car key replacements and programming all model cars. 24-hour service. Call them at 855-869-5625. Go to the website at alennylocksmith.com.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
Welcome to Red Light Therapy, a revolutionary technology perfected by NASA to aid in muscle strengthening and recovery. Red and infrared light has the capacity to penetrate deep into the cell's mitochondria, potentially leading to increased energy, faster recovery, and the optimal performance your body demands. Train, fight, recover.
views expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
Hey, hour number 2 of the program. Thank you all for hanging in there with us. We're going to get to a little more football. We've got Patriots and the Cardinals tonight. Pats -2 taking on the Cards. That's been a disaster of a season for the Cards. The Panthers lost last night to the Kraken 5-2. I thought having Barkov back I thought that's what Paul Maurice needed. But wasn't he asked about turning things around with the Panthers and Barkov would help? I'm sorry, they lost 5-2 to the Kraken on Sunday. Bob had 27 saves, gave up 4 goals. The Cats are 4-9 in their last 13 games. All right, like nothing's going well, dude. Nothing. The Dolphins were our saving grace. The last 2 weeks, they've gone to shit. University of Miami football season was terrible. All we hear about is recruiting now. And, I'll get excited when I actually see those players on the field and actually performing. And I don't have another Tate Martell or DJ Ivy or whatever other 4 or 5-star you want to tell me about that underperforms. So when I start seeing the 4 and 5 stars that are actually like kicking serious ass, then, then I'll get excited. I'm not a grown man getting excited about a bunch of high school kids committing or decommitting. I mean, some of you out there, you really need a life, by the way, or you need to get laid. Or how about roll a fatty or something? Do something better than getting excited about some silly-ass recruit. Most of these recruits don't mean shit until they actually do something. But anyway, as I digress, so we've got the Panthers as a disaster. The Heat are 12-15. They lost to the sorry-ass Spurs on Saturday. Bam Adebayo, by the way. Bam, they can't afford for you not to show up, dude. You need to show up every night, even against sorry teams like the Spurs. My God. The Heat are 5-8 in their last 13 games. They're 2-4 in their last 6. Nothing is going right. Nothing whatsoever. Man. Inter Miami was a disaster down the stretch. What has gone well? Has anything gone well sports-wise in this town lately? Nothing, right? Wow. Professional teams are terrible. Absolutely terrible. Ho Yoon, thank you for the love on Venmo. As always, appreciate you out there, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, you can make a donation through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. And Ho Yoon puts Happy Monday, gut punch. And he is so right. Ho Yoon, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you immensely. He's always supportive of the show, and we appreciate that. But yeah, crazy stuff, man. Manuel Malo says, apparently a nor'easter is on the forecast for next weekend in Buffalo. If that materializes, whatever low hopes I have will be somehow lower. Manuel, the weather has nothing to do with it. You either can play or you can't play. You either play well or you don't. Either you coach it up well or you don't. The Dolphins can play well in any type of weather. It's just up to them. To me, that has nothing. I don't care about the weather. Right now, if it's this offense of the last 2 weeks, does it really matter what the weather is? It could be 80 and sunny in Buffalo. If this is the offense that's going to show up, Buffalo's going to kick their ass anyway. I don't worry about the weather, okay? I just don't. I'm not concerned about that. You can go, that's all mental. And right now there's a lot of mental issues going on that they're going to lose in any kind of weather. I'm not going to blame the weather because that's why they're going to lose, because I don't have that excuse for the last 2 weeks. I'm not making that excuse the last 2 weeks. They choked like dogs on offense the last 2 weeks. They pissed on their pants, okay, the last 2 weeks. They have a yellow, thick-ass line running right down their spine. All right? That's what I saw was a yellow belly performance the last 2 weeks. An embarrassing performance. A performance like I'm tired of watching in December by other Dolphin football teams, and they are no better and no different than any of the other teams the last 2 weeks. Do they want to prove themselves different? Well, then do it this week. And I don't care what the weather is. Find a way to win the goddamn game. Show us you have some heart. Show us that you weren't frauds, because that's what you look like right now. So I'm not going to worry about any kind of weather or anything like that. If you can win, if you got balls and you got character and you got heart, you go win that game against Buffalo. But I'll tell you this, they better perform well at least. Even in a loss, they better perform well. Nico Jones says McDaniel was touted as a run game guru, and that hasn't materialized, leaving two in the wide receivers to bail out the offense. You can't be one-dimensional. Very true. Very true. That's why I blame a lot on McDaniel this past week. Last week, it was all on Tua. This week, it's on Tua, McDaniel, a little bit of the receivers. And Nico then says, no running game also leads to short drives, leaving our already shorthanded defense out to die on the field. Yep. You are correct. But also, if you can use the short passes, that would be better. And you're dialing up deep ball after deep ball for no reason at all. I mean, there were deep balls that had no shot of being completed. I'm like, what the hell is going on? People have been saying before this stretch of road games that this will show the world who and how strong the Dolphins offense is, because everybody said they hadn't played anybody, right? Well, they have played. I mean, you winning in Baltimore down by 21 is way more impressive than anything Justin Herbert did last night. You beat Buffalo, although the Ravens one was the road one, which is you're talking about. So you've beaten some quality teams. But, yeah, this is a stretch that was going to show who the hell you are. And can't argue with that. You have choked badly in 2 games. Badly. I mean, it is ugly. But anyway, speaking of choking, so you've got the Panthers choking. They've got Columbus on Tuesday. You've got the Heat choking. They're 12-15. They're not 27 games into the season. Okay? So a third of the season has been played, and they're under 500. That loss to the Spurs on Saturday, wow. That was bad, dude. Bad. And now they're at the Pacers tonight, and Pacers are favored by 3. The Pacers are 14-13. They're over 500. Miami isn't. I mean, there's nothing good going on in sports. Everything's been heartbreaking in sports locally. I thought that at least the Dolphins would give us some saving grace. And look at what they did yesterday, man. Wow. What a shit-ass performance that was. What else do we have on there? Sometimes you got to take the check down. Yeah, no, you should take the check down many times. Every quarterback takes the check down. Herbert threw a lot of underneath stuff yesterday. Smart. Miami did not do enough of that. Dumb. Roman Penny says, Big O, that was a horrific last two games on the defense, on the offense, especially Tua. Is this how the Finns are going to be every December? Well, this is how they've been every December. We were hoping McDaniel, Tua, and company would change those Decembers, and they didn't. They failed. That's the problem. Edward Thurston Howe chiming in. Very important to beat the Bills and the Jets coming up. Yeah, it is. It is. It's just one of those where, watching these games, like I said, you better go 3-1 now. That's it. 3-1. 2-2 is not good enough down the stretch to kind of make up for what's gone on. You need to go 3-1 now. And that's not going to be easy for this offense. This offense looks like it's going to go 1-3 down the stretch. This offense better change, man. So, let me see. Big O, you said Herbert did not impress you because he did not win a shootout. Are you joking? He won the game. Fritter Froof, I was not impressed as people put it out. He did enough to win the game. That's it. That's all. 370 yards and 1 touchdown. And he beat a terrible Dolphins team by 6 points. So, I don't know, man. You want to look at it like this incredible performance? What was more impressive? Tua's comeback performance against the Ravens down by 21 or what Herbert did last night? And what happens to Herbert's performance if the Dolphins just score a touchdown at the end and win 24-23? How's Herbert's performance then looked at? 1 touchdown, 370 yards. Settled for a bunch of field goals instead because you couldn't punch it in. You tell me. The narrative only looks nice and shiny because the Dolphins were dog shit. That's the only reason, because the Dolphins didn't have an offense. But if he loses that game 24-23, the narrative all of a sudden changes from, oh, he played a good game, he did everything he had to do in order to win, to, well, wait a minute, dude. He only punched it in 1 time for a touchdown. He had all those chances in the red zone and they settled for field goals. That's why they lost this game. If he makes 1 touchdown drive instead of a field goal drive, they don't lose 24-23. They're winning the game. Just 1 touchdown changes the entire narrative. So how can it be a performance that's so amazing when 1 score changes the entire narrative of it and the entire way you look at it? Because the kid played well. He did good. Tua choked. He didn't. But he wasn't anything like, oh my God, he lit him up. Like I'm telling you, the guy you're playing on Saturday, if he throws for 370 yards, I guarantee you 3 to 4 touchdowns will be tied to it. I'm just saying, yes, the guy played well yesterday. Played much better than Tua. But my God, anybody played better than Tua yesterday. He was 10 of 28. Okay? I think every quarterback in the NFL played better than Tua yesterday, wins or losses. So to outplay Tua was not an accomplishment yesterday. Yeah, he had a good game. But let's not make it out to be like this incredible performance with all kinds of touchdowns. And, he beat a terrible Dolphins team by 6 points at home. whatever, man. Make it out to be the greatest performance since sliced bread if you want, but one touchdown and 370 yards. All right. All right. So, raising my kids as Miami fans is a form of premeditated punishment for all the times in the future that they get in trouble. I'll never need to punish them again. Yeah, Eddie, but you also, they could take the kids away from you because that's child neglect, that's child abuse, that's, all kinds of things that, you're really torturing a kid to become a Dolphins fan. I mean, that's wow. Tell you. Greer has been patching up holes on the fly and still building a roster for the future. McD is responsible for scheming and coaching this mess. Yeah. No, I wouldn't blame Greer. Although if Chubb doesn't pick it up, Greer's going to get a lot of heat for that trade. Okay? Bradley Chubb better pick it up. Because the other guy on the other side's playing like a maniac, and so is Christian Wilkins. So let's not make it sound like Bradley Chubb is all by himself. The offense has to worry about Christian Wilkins and Jalen Phillips. Those guys are attacking. Sealer helps out crumble that pocket too. So Chubb has people playing opposite of him, and he's not doing the job. That I will say. Big O, we have to give him props. Come on. He had a terrible year, and all he heard was how better Tua was playing than he was, and he shut that down. Props. Go Dolphins. He gets props. Mad props for Justin Herbert over Tua last night. But I'm not wowed by the game. That's all. Mad props. He did enough to win. It was not a performance for the ages. It wasn't one of these things like, oh my God, he lit up the world. No, dude, you threw for 370 yards. You scored one touchdown. You ended up with a bunch of field goals. That's not good. It's just good enough to beat a really bad Dolphins offense that couldn't score with a fistful of dollars in a whorehouse. But yeah, is it props to him? He showed up and Tua choked. That's all I can say about that performance. Herbert showed up, Tua choked. That's it. But is Herbert's performance anywhere near what I saw Tua do against the Baltimore Ravens on the road? No. Not even close. They're not even comparable. They're not even in the same stratosphere. Okay? Yesterday, unfortunately, the Dolphins were a shitty team. I don't care what the record says. A shitty team showed up, and he barely beat a shitty team by 6 points. Props to him. He showed up, Tua choked. Those are the facts. But let's not make it out to be like this incredible performance. Please. AH360, thank you for the love in the super chat. Oh, compared to Tua's offense, does Herbert have as many offensive weapons that can make plays after the catch to score TDs? That's how we got the 2 TDs. Actually, he had as many or more weapons than Tua did yesterday because Tyreek was injured. So he had Keenan Allen back. He had Mike Williams back. The Palmer kid played better than any third receiver Miami has. The Everett kid played better than any tight end Miami has. And at running back, they've always been superior than Miami. I don't know. You do the math, my brother. Looks to me like Herbert had more than enough weapons, actually better weapons than Tua did yesterday. Oh, I'm sorry, better coaching. Yeah, Mike McDaniel failed miserably yesterday as a coach. Yeah. So they had plenty of weapons out there, better than Miami's weapons. They had a better quarterback out there than Miami. Herbert was the better quarterback, and that's not even up for any kind of discussion. Herbert showed up, Tua choked. That's what happened yesterday. Nothing more, nothing less. Now it's up to Tua to bounce back and prove that he's not Chuck Knoblaw anymore, because that's what he looks like right now. He looks like Rick Ankiel. He looks like a guy that, like, what the hell happened to you, dude? You just lost it? So there you go. Sorry if you touched on this already, but one thing I've noticed is that the defense, that they don't use motion to confuse pre-snap. Chris, here, sorry that you didn't hear this. Stop with the stupidity of the defense. Okay, Chris? Stop with the stupidity of the defense. The defense has been on the field for 80 minutes the last two games, and the offense for 40. Defense has been out on the field twice as much as the offense, and they've given them every opportunity to win the games. It's absolutely stupidity, asinine, ridiculous to complain about the defense in any way, shape, or form. The defense has won every game this season. They're 13-0. The offense has lost every game this season. They're 8-5. Josh Boyer has done his job. Mike McDaniel has not. So, not sure what you're watching. Not one game can be blamed on the defense this year. Not one. They've played well enough so you can win every single game. All 5 losses are on the offense. All 5. Is the defense perfect? No, dude. Was that third down kind of wacky, that call? Yeah. Was it why you lost? No. If it ends up in a touchdown or a field goal, you lose by 2, you lose by 6, it doesn't matter. That offense was so inept, you weren't getting anywhere. Tua choked. Herbert showed up. That's it. McDaniel was fantastic last week. Last night, worst game of the year for him. Last night, I could blame it on McDaniel. Every failure this year and every loss has to do with the offense. Even when Tua was injured, that you had that excuse, the defense kept you in all those games. Even the New York Jet game, until the offense started giving away the ball in the fourth quarter, that they gave away all those short fields, that's it. It was over. It wasn't the defense, it was the offense. The defense, even without Tua, kept you in those games. You just never and listen, I give them a break for those 3 games. Everything was discombobulated. You couldn't figure it out. The backup quarterbacks, whatever. But the defense has done enough all year long to give you a victory. And yesterday they did more than enough for you to win. But if you're that inept on offense, you can't perform the way the offense has performed the last 2 weeks. You can't, dude. I'm sorry. Your entire season is on the line. You're trying to get a playoff position in there, not just make it in, but you've got an opportunity to get a higher seed. And this is what you do for 2 weeks on offense? You know, it's too much harping on that third down play. They did more than enough for you to win the game. Problem is, you didn't meet them halfway. You can't have the defense out on the field for 2 weeks for 80 minutes and the offense for 40. You can't do that, bro. And as I said yesterday, your defense was out for 78 and 79 plays the last 2 weeks. Your offense, 49 and 45. You can't do that. And having said all that, they kept you within a score, and you can't score. It's got to be laid on Tua. It's got to be laid on McDaniel. It's got to be laid on the offense. Those are the people who, it's amazing. They get all the props for the beauty of the offense and in the wins. But let's make sure we focus on the losses are also all on the defense. So we'll talk about the Amber Heard offense with Alan Poopart and our EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins report next.
Dolphins fans, time to get insight on your favorite team with your favorite reporter with an Expos hat. Sports Illustrated's Alan Poopart in our EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins report, exclusively on a Big O radio show.
All righty, there he is. How you feeling?
I'm good. You'll have to explain the Amber Heard reference. I didn't get it.
It's really simple.
Go ahead.
The Dolphins offense, it's either Heard or Turd. And so Amber is a beautiful girl, kind of crazy. You know what they say about the crazy women, right? Great sex. So one night you have great sex with her. The next night you go to your bed and there's a big turd there. And that's basically the Dolphin offense. One night you get crazy sex with a beautiful woman. The next night you get a turd. So we don't know what we're going to get from the Dolphins offense, Heard or Turd. So it's now become the Amber Heard offense, the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
How do you like that?
Is
Is that a great analogy or what?
Yeah,
You
it's
gotta,
a little bit of a
those were
reach.
last 2 weeks, those are two turds in the bed.
No,
right?
Absolutely. A little bit of a reach, but I'll give you points for creativity. Yeah, no, that was some kind of ugly last night.
That's a choke job of all choke jobs, bro. That's what Ryan Tannehill does when you're 9-5 and you need to beat the Bills or the Jets, two terrible teams at that point. At that point, folks, not these Bills, or even these Jets, actually. And you can't win one of those games. And to me, that's kind of what this was right here, you know? Even, look, last night, Herbert outplayed Tua. He showed up, Tua choked. But Herbert wasn't that great. It's 370 and one touchdown.
Dude, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. Think about this.
Bro,
think about this.
He was under pressure the entire night, and he kept making out of nothing. Holy
think about
moly.
this. I just ask you one question. Just one question. If the pathetic Dolphins offense finds a way to score a touchdown at the end of that game and wins 24-23, the narrative all of a sudden changes. Yeah, Herbert threw for 370, but he only brought him to one touchdown, a lot of field goals. If he gets him into one more touchdown, they win. So really, yeah, he outperformed Tua by miles. But it wasn't like a performance like I saw Tua against the Baltimore Ravens down by 21. That's a performance for the ages. Last night, he outplayed Tua, but anybody could outplay Tua the way he played.
He was running for his life every time he dropped back to pass. I mean, come on, dude, seriously. And that was a big difference. If you're going to compare the two, and then Tua's performance at Baltimore was spectacular. He also had all day to throw. Herbert, do you recall many times that Herbert sat in the pocket? I mean, literally, and this is where you mentioned the Dolphin defense having done its job. And part of it is they put pressure on that guy, and I mean the whole night. And he made some throws, even one of those back-breaking third down conversions on that long, exhausting drive at the end of the game. The first third down, the pass to Keenan Allen on the side where Kader Kahu is all over the dude, and he's got a window about this tight to fit it in, and he filled it. I mean, the guy was spectacular. I don't know.
Made some excellent throws, but think about it. Only one touchdown. So it's really not. It's really not.
Is that on him? For example, is that on him that his receiver stumbles when he's on the first fourth down, where he's catching the ball on the swing and he stumbles?
Right, I get it,
but that's not on Herbert.
I get that. I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming Herbert for anything. I'm just saying it wasn't this incredible performance.
But it was. But it was. And there's
the Dolphins were so bad, dude, yesterday. I
don't disagree with that. And I will tell you this also. I don't think Tua was not nearly as much of a cause for the issues on offense to me as he was against San Francisco when he was missing wide open receivers.
That's fine. Yeah, you're right.
I didn't see a whole lot of wide open receivers.
You're right. Some of the receivers were screwed up. Like Tyreek actually had a couple of plays. You were like, did he lose it in the lights in one of them? There's another one that he dropped. No, I get the receivers even made some mistakes, and this was McDaniel's worst game.
They weren't open. He schemed whatever the game plan that, and it's interestingly enough, the Chargers defensive coordinator is former Dolphin player and assistant coach Ronaldo Hill. Yeah. I mean, props to him because they were all over those Dolphin receivers who have been wide open the whole year. Yep. Were wide open against San Francisco. Tua was missing them. Were not open at all last night.
Right. McDaniel had a great game plan last week. Tua just failed that game plan.
All right.
This week, it was Tua, McDaniel, and some of the receivers that kind of screwed up because really the line did enough again. And you got Armstead back, so that excuse isn't there. You know what I'm saying? It just, to me, brother, there's no excuses. I don't make excuses for people. I made plenty of excuses for Tua last year that to me were legitimate with the coaching and the talent around him. Now, I don't make any excuses from what's happened the last 2 weeks. And last night, I'm not letting McDaniel off the hook. He was terrible. He did not adjust. He did not adjust whatever routes he was running with his guys. He did not force Tua to adjust also, and the running game, which you had some success with it, you didn't use it enough overall. Was that going to maybe win the game for you? I doubt it, but still, man, it would have helped out a little bit on the offense.
No question. I would tell you this was the first game last night where I'm watching and going, wow, they're getting outcoached tonight.
Oh,
they are losing the coaching battle, and that's the first time all year that I would say that. So I mean, we can cut the guy some slack, but the flip side is
last week too, in a way. Last week a little bit.
No, I thought they did fine. Last week was purely execution, and a lot of it was on Tua.
Yeah, most of it was. You're right. Most of it was execution.
But now the thing that's really kind of worrisome is this was the big test, and everybody's talking about it. Even McDaniel himself said you want to get yourself in the position where you're playing the big games in December, and that's when you show up. Well, they ain't showing up yet, and I don't want to be and then on top of everything else, the NFL certainly didn't do him any favors with the scheduling. Not only
I don't care about that.
Say what?
Everybody's got difficult parts in their schedule. I'm not giving you an excuse for that one.
I'm not Big O. I'm not giving not an excuse, but I would challenge you to come up with the last time a team has had back-to-back games in California or on the East Coast if you're a California team as part of a 3-game road set. Now, I know the Dolphins asked the league to do the California games back-to-back so they could stay out west. But then to tack on a third road game on top of that, and then to make it a Saturday night game when they easily could have made it a Sunday night game, that's tough. That has nothing to do with how they played the past 2 weeks. So.
Right. That's my problem. You know what? Win these last 2, and I don't care what happens in Buffalo. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, that's fair.
That's fine with me. You had everything set up for you, and you could have won these 2 games. You could have won these 2 games because let me tell you, bro, I am so tired of bashing Boyer. I think he deserves a raise. Okay? There are people that want to fire him. I want to give him a raise. Okay? Think about this. There's not one game you can say, oh, dude, the offense was awesome and the defense failed them today. Like we used to do all the time with Marino. Yeah. Marino would score 32, and then there's J.B. Brown allowing the 37th point of the day. Or, or whatever bad defensive player that they had on that team. And we used to see it all the time. Dude, how does Ken O'Brien beat Marino? How does Richard Todd beat Marino? How does Tony Eason beat Marino? Oh, because your defense freaking sucks. That's why. Mm-hmm. And not one game this season we can say, bro, the offense was awesome and the defense was dog shit. No, the defense is 13-0 this season. All 5 losses are attributed to offensive issues. And the 3, I know, I get it. We give them breaks because no Tua. But still, dude.
Well, yeah, I don't want to completely absolve the defense, even though
I get it. But in general, think about it.
No, but Big O, here's the thing, is in the 5 losses, unless I'm severely mistaken, they don't have a takeaway in any of those games. Last night, you could make the argument. Obviously, we're going to talk about the 3rd and goal from the 17 where he's dropping everybody back, where you basically gave him the opportunity to go for it on 4th and goal from the 1. And then
You lose by 2, you lose by 4.
Well,
Big
and
deal.
then they go, you allowed an 8-minute, 39-second drive at a time when it was 20 to 14. So
well, your defense is out on the field all the time.
I understand that. They go, here's the thing,
They're
though.
Gonna bend. They're going to bend some.
They go, and there have been injuries. I understand that. But to suggest that it's everything 100% on the offense, it's not. I mean, it may be more on the offense than on the defense. That's fine. To say the losses are entirely on the defense.
Did the defense do enough to win the last 2 games, my friend? That's it. That's all. Your pause answered it all, my friend. You know it.
They could have done more. They could have done more. But again, if you're counting on the offense scoring 30 points every game, yeah, they did enough.
How much more do you want from those guys, dude?
Come up with a takeaway. Come up with a
Is it Boyer's fault that Chubb can't do his job? Is it Boyer's fault that X doesn't know how to tag a guy when he's down on the floor after he got burned? There are things that happen too that I can't blame Boyer at times. Riley gets tripped up and they get that deep ball on him a couple weeks back. I can't blame him for that. You know what I mean? X is kind of a shell of what he used to be. Am I blaming him for that? Hell, I give him credit because the best defensive back on the field right now is the guy he found in Kader Kohou. Because last night, the best defensive back on the field was Kader Kohou, baby. All right? I mean, I have a hard time laying any blame whatsoever on Boyer and the defense when they've been injury-riddled. They're always on the field. I would love to know the total amount of minutes for the entire season for the defense and the offense. Because if it's 80 to 40 in the last 2 weeks, what is it through 13 games?
Let me put on my glasses. I can easily find that out for you. I'm a full service provider here. Here you go. Possession average, Dolphins 28-34, opponents 31-26.
28 to 31?
Yeah. The 31.
So that means over 13 games?
Yeah.
That's like another. They've been on the field for an extra game.
Okay, but my point remains.
Shit.
Played well enough to win.
Just say okay. I mean, they've played a 14th game and the offense has played 13.
Okay, but Big O, I'm the one who's actually was defending the defense earlier on, saying that they won some games. But on the flip side, I don't want to say that their 5 losses are strictly because of the offense. I would agree that more of the blame goes to the offense than the defense in those losses. But to say it's entirely, and the defense won some games, and as I said before, so
and let me tell you, and the last 2 weeks, I don't blame the defense one bit. They put you in position to win both those games, and you failed. Right? I mean, you have to say that, right? The last 2 weeks, the defense in December did enough for you to win those games. We can't ask them to be dominant because that's not who they are.
No, correct.
They don't have the talent to be dominant.
Correct.
Okay? Although Christian Wilkins, God bless him, bro. God freaking bless him. He, back up.
Jalen Phillips is balling lately, too. Jalen Phillips is balling big time, too.
He's balling. Kohou, Phillips, and Wilkins last night, they all put on a show. Those 3 guys, God bless them, dude. They were awesome. They were a pleasure to watch. Okay? That was the few bright spots, them and Jason Sanders. Because that was nice that he hit the 55-yarder. He needed to hit that 55-yarder. But I just – okay, so here, let me put you in the most impossible and most uncomfortable question ever. What's going on, bro? What's going on with Tua? What's going on with McDaniel? What the hell is going on? How do you fix it? There you go.
No, that's a great one. The one against Frisco, again, might have been like a one-off or whatever. The one against the Chargers, a bad Chargers defense without Derwin James, Bryce Callahan, and their defensive tackle, Joseph Day, on top of everything else, and they got dominated. How do you fix it? That's a great. Well, first of all, here's how I would approach it. Maybe since either defenses are making adjustments and coming up with ideas on how to slow down the offense. Maybe you don't have to chuck everything deep down the field all the time. Go back to some short passing, and maybe don't open the game with 3 15-yard passes that get broken up, and you basically have a possession that lasts 20 seconds that you're putting away.
Amen. Amen. I don't know what happened, because it's not like he can't do the short passing game. He's exceptional at that. So why not do that kind of stuff? Plus, it starts to get his confidence going back. You get him in some kind of a rhythm. I thought the last 2 weeks, you're taking all these deep shots. You're like going overboard on those deep shots.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it seems like the last 2 weeks. And then you would like to use the running game a little bit more, but damn, dude, now this week, this is not the week. now you're going up against a team that you really cannot run against. You know, you had the team that you can run against last week. You know what I'm saying? I mean, last night. There are some things sometimes. It's almost like I think McDaniel sometimes outthinks himself.
Yeah, and I also don't. We also don't know what the options are on every. There was one play I saw. I saw the replay from the back of the Dolphin backfield, and I don't even remember how the play ended. Whether Tua scrambled or threw the ball away or whatever. But he had an outlet 5 yards down the field to his right for an easy completion, and didn't see him or didn't want to take it. And I don't know if we're trying to play hero ball here. Make something happen big every single play, but I think if it needs to be dink and dunk for a while, and it may need to be that against the Bills because their defense is a bitch, number one, and number two, because the weather conditions should be a factor. If it needs to be dink and dunk all night for the offense to move, make it dink and dunk.
Bro, there's nothing wrong with dink and dunk. Joe Montana dinked and dunked you and then hit you over the top. And Tom Brady dinked and dunked you and then hit you over the top. And Peyton Manning dinked and dunked you. And lots of great quarterbacks dink and dunk. That's the part that it's so weird that even last year, that's what their entire offense was, dink and dunk. And they barely could throw. They barely ever threw deep because they had no time. And then in this offense, it's kind of gotten – do you think he's gotten too cocky with the offense?
That's certainly a possibility. And human nature being what it is, and with the success that they had for so many weeks in a row, after that Sunday night game against the Steelers when things were rough, but after that you started a streak where Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, Houston, where everything was kind of clicking and the offense was really humming. Yeah, it's human nature to get maybe a little bit too happy with yourself and maybe thinking it's going to come that easy every week, and this. That should not be the case anymore.
I did not. I admittedly, the first go around, every time I watch a game, I don't necessarily focus on the line all the time. You're ball watching a lot too, in games. How did you see Armstead overall? Because it looked like he actually did a pretty good job. Didn't get beat a lot, and more importantly, man, what a tough sumbitch, man. Jesus Christ.
No, he is. I haven't done my second watch, and I'm going to focus more on the offensive line because, like you, when you're watching a game for the first time and writing life off of it, you have to pay attention to the ball. And the only thing that really stood out from that first viewing, that live viewing, was obviously the sack he gave up against Kyle Van Noy of Dolphin fame 2020, where he got beat with a spin move.
Right.
And did the arm, the pec issue come into play on that?
Probably.
Only he would know. Correct. I'd be inclined to think that's like that Teron Armstead has seen spin moves in his career before, and I'd be inclined to think that he's stoned a lot of spin moves before. So overall, though, tough to say. As you mentioned, though, overall the line was fine. There were a couple of plays where Tua had pressure. The game book has him taking 4 quarterback hits compared to 7 for the Dolphins on Herbert. So it wasn't like he was under duress a lot of the night.
No. And he actually, few times that he had pressure, he did good of avoiding it and even throwing the ball away too at the same time.
Nice scrambles.
The line actually has done more. Look, they're not a road grading line, but they have made progress from the last couple of years where they're actually giving their quarterback enough time to pass the ball. And that excuse doesn't exist. Last year, I mentioned them many times to defend Tua.
Yes, you
Okay.
did.
I had the ammunition with coaching. I had the ammunition with talent. I had the ammunition with the offensive line. I had all that ammunition. No running game. I had all of that. I don't have that ammunition this year. Okay. And I certainly did not have that ammunition the last two games. He has his coaching. The line gave him more than enough time. You have enough weapons. There are no excuses for the performance the last 2 weeks. Period.
No, and the thing that's weird and makes it more difficult to come up with a solution and a diagnosis is that, to me, against San Francisco, it was all physical mistakes where he was off the mark with his accuracy, and last night it was all decision making where he was throwing all night to guys who were really covered.
Right. And the guy on the other side, the guy on the other side is taking everything underneath and killing you.
Correct.
Underneath all night long, and then hitting you over the top every once in a while. Why didn't you do the same thing? I don't understand that.
No, if I have to see one more pass down the left sideline to either Mike Gesicki or Trent Sherfield when they're completely covered and you basically got a window of 3 centimeters, 30 yards away, I'm going to go crazy.
Right.
I mean, talk about low percentage throws.
Yes. Yeah. There wasn't a lot there. How much is it confidence for Tua, do you think?
No, I think he's amassed enough. He's amassed enough equity in that category so far this season with the success that the offense has had, where I think he can always go back. And I heard somebody joke, well, maybe it's time to show him another 700 plays on a highlight.
Wait a minute. They do have 610 to go. They only showed about 90 to us.
Okay, so there you go.
So I said yesterday that he should go a little Zig Ziglar and start using some of that motivational stuff on the plane ride back. Hey, Tua, let's go over some of these plays that you know how to do, and then maybe kind of rebuild the confidence or something. I don't know what it is, dude.
Maybe there's too much confidence, maybe, and then maybe he thinks that he can make every single solitary throw when some of them are just really not good throws to make.
No, they're not. All right, what do you got going on Sports Illustrated and alldolphins.com?
Busy day on Monday. I already put up the snap count observations, which were affected obviously by the injuries, not only to Tyreek Hill. And we mentioned the running game and how it could be an issue against Buffalo. Well, I'm no doctor, but certainly doesn't look good when Jeff Wilson Jr. gets carted off the field or carted into the locker room with a hip injury. And then Eric Rowe also was injured. So the snap count observations are already up. The 5 biggest plays of the game, do the complete observations, revisiting the storylines. Mike McDaniel's addressing the media at 4:30. And after I hang up with you, I'm going to detail the complete playoff outlook and where the Dolphins stand. They're still in good shape, but obviously not as good as they would have been had they won last night.
What is a satisfactory ending to a team that started 8-3?
11-6. That would be satisfactory.
So they've got to go 3. That's what I mean. So 3-1, right?
That would be very satisfactory. I mean, if we're talking right now, I think both you and I would say, completing the sweep at Buffalo is a pretty tall task.
Oh,
but
God, yeah.
I think they're better than Green Bay. At New England could be tricky, but it's a game they can win. And I don't know if I at this point, I'm not sure I'd say should win, but it's certainly a winnable game. The Jets in the season finale is also going to be tricky, especially if Quinnen Williams is in the lineup. I know he left the game against Buffalo yesterday.
Yeah, he got injured yesterday. Yeah.
I don't know the severity of his injury.
And by the way, that Mike White is one tough son of a bitch. Holy crap, because he got leveled twice in that game. And to come back, mad props for that guy. But let me tell you something, Alan, if this offense that you've seen the last 2 weeks plays over the next 4 weeks, they may not win a game.
No, correct. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
You're absolutely right.
You can't keep doing this where the defense is out on the field twice as much as you are. for the next 4 weeks, and now they're playing on a short week. I feel terrible for that defense. I tweeted out last night, the entire offense needs to buy the defense and their families vacations for the summer. Okay.
But here's the thing too is, it's like, Tua was such a high in terms of performance for most of the season, and then we're looking at such a low. I mean, there's got to be a middle ground somewhere here, and the question is going to be, where's that middle ground, and is it going to be good enough?
Brother, he's looking like Ryan Tannehill right now in the last 2 weeks. Like the moment's
too big. He would be looking like Ryan Tannehill the last 2 games.
Oh, please. Jesus. Well, the last 2 games, no, they lost yesterday. Once they fell behind and Tannehill had to carry them. That's it. It was over. It was done. It's very Tannehill-ish, the last 2 weeks for Tua Tagovailoa. And we have Andy Behrens coming up, which he has Tua on a bunch of his teams. He must be as depressed as hell right now at this point with what's going on. All right, follow him on Twitter at Poopart NFL. And remember, if you're a Dolphins fan, you must bookmark alldolphins.com. It's the law. Alan, we'll catch up later on in the week, my friend. Have a good one.
You be good.
You got it. There you go. Alan Poopart and our EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins report.
You've been listening to the EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins report with Sports Illustrated's Alan Poopart. For additions, home remodeling, and custom work, call Eric at 305-433-4843. EJDconstruction.com is your custom home builder and general contractor you can trust. 305-433-4843.
We'll continue with the Dolphins talk in a minute, but before we do that, we're going to start hour number 3. Andy Behrens is ready to go. So give us a minute here. We'll get that going. Get your fantasy football questions in. Remember, on the Welt and Rayom text line at 855-912-1056. That's 855-912-1056. That's the Welt and Rayom text line. Wherever you're at, send in those fantasy questions. Don't forget to hit that like button. Please smash the like button. Very important to get the algorithms going for the like button. So please smash it. Hour number 3 is next.
Oh, I think I know what this is. Houston, we have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield home security system guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera, all professionally installed, for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646.
Welcome to Red Light Therapy, a revolutionary technology perfected by NASA to aid in muscle strengthening and recovery. Red and infrared light has the capacity to penetrate deep into the cell's mitochondria, potentially leading to increased energy, faster recovery, and the optimal performance your body demands. Train, fight, recover.
For over, for over, for over For over 16 years, EJDConstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDConstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDConstruction.com.
The viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. PPR, draft, keeper, dynasty. It's the Sports Grill, Fantasy Football Zone with Yahoo Sports' Andy Behrens. Keep up with your fantasy football teams by visiting any of the 8 great Sports Grill locations. Sports Grill, good food, good drink, good friends. Here's Andy Behrens.
All righty, there we go. There he is, the man that is hurting like a lot of us.
That was a rough one. That was a rough one, Big O. I'm sure you've been talking about it all morning. I was out at the bar for that one, so thankfully I had a drink in my hand while that was going down. Tough watch, but there's, maybe it's a bit much to say that it's a blueprint that defenses are now employing against Miami's passing game, but I mean, you've seen it 2 weeks in a row now, right? Kind of flood in the middle of the field, making those throws extremely difficult.
You got to adjust. If San Fran did it to you, then you should have anticipated that the Chargers are going to do it to you. So then you need to have the adjustment for it. And so last week, I don't blame McDaniel for the loss. I blame Tua. This week, I blame Tua, McDaniel, and some of the receivers also screwed up too. In a couple of the routes and a couple balls. Even Tyreek, who scored 2 touchdowns, had a couple of screw ups there that were kind of weird for him. But it was. I mean, they freaking choked, dude. I mean, that's all.
I mean,
that's all
credit to the Chargers too. Credit to the Chargers, because the Chargers were, not only did they sort of follow, like, it's one thing for San Francisco to do a thing to you, because that's an extremely talented defense. They give you no time. They've got great pass rushers. It's another thing for the Chargers to do it to you. We've been a totally underwhelming defense most of the season, really vulnerable to the run, vulnerable to big plays, which of course we saw with Tyreek eventually. Tough one though. They were dropping guys. It looked, again, I'm watching this game with a beer in hand at the bar. But it certainly looked like, they were doing a nice job giving one look at the snap of the football, dropping people immediately, making the middle of the field really, really busy for Tua. And you're right. I mean, there's not much more to say than that he's going to have to adjust, and he's got to do it now in a short week with a really difficult opponent on the schedule.
You really should have won last week and this week. And then if you lose to Buffalo, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Right. It's not a big deal, but it's weird. And Tyreek is injured, and yet
Tyreek dinged on a short week. Jeff Wilson hurt on a short week.
But he
that
still
seems rough.
Touchdowns injured. Okay.
I will say that there's not a play that I saw in week 14 that I enjoyed more than Teron Armstead flipping that ball out of the scrum to Tyreek. That was like, I mean, I don't know. There were a lot of great throws, a lot of great passes in week 14. That was the greatest assist that I saw in week 14, was Armstead seemingly deliberately finding Tyreek outside the scrum to set up that touchdown. That was awesome.
All right. If you guys got fantasy football questions, send them in now on the Welt and Rayom text line. Is a lot easier for me to find them at 855-912-1056. That's 855-912-1056. Again, on the YouTube chat board, you can start sending them in now. So for those of you that are there, and don't forget to smash the hell out of the like button, man. By the way, J.K. Dobbins looks like a guy you got to start riding.
Yeah, it was great to see. I think that the Ravens are now fully back to their Dobbins, Gus Edwards, two-headed attack. Gus wasn't bad this week, but Dobbins really, I mean, that was a great show from him. And it seems like they certainly made the right decision for him to go back in and get the arthroscopic surgery, get cleaned up, and he looked great. I mean, he's a hyper talented player, and that's a team that we know wants to run the football, run it all day, and they've got some nice spots ahead too. Like, this is a really nice end of season schedule for Baltimore. So Dobbins is somebody who's actually he's lingering out there in about 30% of Yahoo leagues. So he's not somebody who like really makes the pickups column, because that's not a lot of availability. But you should check. You should check the wire just to be sure that Dobbins is rostered somewhere.
All right, get ready. Do you trade Waddle?
Do I assume we're talking fantasy and not reality?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're talking fantasy now, but this is what's coming now. So
two rough games for Waddle in a row, obviously. And I thought you were alluding to the receivers with some I don't know if they were boneheaded plays, but some lost opportunities in the Chargers game. I thought that deep throw late in the game, was Waddle just not. Was he not looking for? I mean, a ball sailed like a foot over his head, right? Like, he had a clear opportunity late in that game for a splash play. Not playing well. He obviously had the ankle injury a couple weeks ago. It's not certain that that's bothering him anymore. No, I don't like. You never trade at a low point, right? Like, I mean, if you're for some reason your trade deadline hasn't passed, you don't like to trade at moments like this. Ideally you trade when a player's value is high. Do I expect huge things from him against Buffalo? No, I mean, you're probably looking at like a 24-21 game, 21-17, something like that, right? This is probably not going to be a game where the total ends up in the 60s or anything like that. But no, I wouldn't sell him here. I still think he's a pretty unique talent. And I don't think you're going to get value for a guy selling this low.
All right. Chase Barrett is asking, is Etienne unstartable until proven otherwise? He's been terrible, but then also plays Houston in the championship weekend. How do you look at this?
I look at this as a guy coming off, like the Jaguars did exactly what we would expect a defense to do against, or an offense to do against a defense that is as lopsided as Tennessee has been, right? Like, Tennessee's been really good against the run, and they've been completely vulnerable against the pass. And Trevor Lawrence had a day. Like, he's a young quarterback kind of coming into his own, and the game is slowing down for him. And Lawrence was great. It was never a great setup for Etienne. I mean, I'm trying to think of where I had him in the ranks going into the week, but it was even with 6 teams on bye, I think he was like my RB 17 or 18. I mean, it just wasn't a good matchup, and he didn't have much of a game. But he's got Houston ahead, and Houston has been an absolute gift to running backs. So I wouldn't sweat that at all. He's also got the Cowboys coming up this week, and the Cowboys have been super vulnerable to running backs, and they're allowing a lot of missed tackles too. So it's a handful of great matchups for Etienne. I certainly wouldn't sweat. If that's your biggest problem, you don't really have many problems.
Is Bam Knight a starter moving forward? Brandon Rowd is asking.
Here's a good example of somebody who I wouldn't necessarily start ahead of, Travis Etienne, but I can imagine flex. I mean, if you've got him, you're probably riding him. You're probably flexing him. He's got Detroit coming up. That's not a scary matchup, although they just, shut the door on Dalvin Cook more or less. So I'd continue to play him. I mean, he's one of the few guys out there that is in line in a normal week for like 17, 20, 24 touches, right? It's him and Michael Carter, and they left James Robinson inactive again this week. So sure, in most leagues of any depth, I'd say, yeah, he's a starter moving forward.
Would you start Tua against the Bills?
This just pains me. I would want alternatives, and I don't think he's gonna. He's been ranking as a top 10 fantasy QB all season for us, basically after those first few weeks. I don't think it's going to be the case this week against the Bills, especially now that we've seen a couple defenses in a row. One of them great, one of them not great. Really shut him down and give him all kinds of problems. I'm sure Buffalo can do that. So I don't think he's going to rank as a top 10 option. This all depends on the various options that you have. I wouldn't go to the waiver wire and get like Mike White or Ryan Tannehill or even Brock Purdy or whatever. Like, I would still ride with Tua there, because he is, after all, the guy who's throwing to Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So I wouldn't sit him for just anyone, but I can tell you that he's not gonna be top 10 for me.
Evan Ingram. What are we doing with Evan Ingram in Jacksonville now?
How fun was that? It felt as if all the fantasy points that Evan Ingram has been leaving on the field his entire career, he scooped up and scored them in week 14, right? Like that was really something. That says a lot about Tennessee. Peppered him with targets. It was great to see. Evan Ingram's had a really good year, and Evan Ingram, I don't know if you and I have talked about it, but I feel like I've had this conversation several times this season. Like Evan Ingram was a buzzy story in the summer from the people who were covering the Jaguars. He was, he had that like first guy in the building, last guy out thing going for him. All kinds of work with Lawrence, a lot of rapport with Lawrence. Every day you'd see a clip of Evan Ingram, with a splashy red zone catch. So I think this is all of that work coming to fruition. It's the best game he's going to have this season, but that's fine. I think he's somebody who is generally in line for something like 6 to 10 targets in any given week. And there's just not a lot of that at the tight end position. So Ingram is definitely someone who's going to rank as a top 10 player at the spot going forward.
That's a current Jag. Let's talk about a former Jag that's in Detroit and DJ Chark. How are we looking at DJ Chark now?
That's a really fun offense. This isn't a great week for them. They've got the Jets coming up. Obviously, that Jets defense, that front will get after you. The secondary is great. So I don't love him necessarily in week 15, but this is 2 games with serious target totals, 2 games in a row in which he's gone over 90 receiving yards. He's got a touchdown now in 2 of his last 3. And yeah, Jared Goff's playing great. Like in any given week, it's not really much of a surprise if Jared Goff gives us a couple of touchdowns and 300 yards. The spot to really use Chark, I think, moving forward, they've got in fantasy, most fantasy leagues settle their championship in week 17. He's got the Bears in week 17, and the Bears are, the Bears began the season as a bad defense, and they deliberately got worse by trading away some pieces. They've had some injuries. DJ Chark is exactly the sort who can exploit that. So he's somebody that I would be looking to flex, looking to put in a wide receiver 3 spot in championship week for sure.
Pep is asking 1 flex and 1 RB2 for week 15. Jamal Williams, Rashard White, James Cook, Olave, or Deontay Johnson?
Yeah, I think I want to play White and Olave here. Olave's just been wonderful all season. He's been a great story. It's just a great rookie receiver class, and he's been about the best of them. It's an exploitable matchup against Atlanta, so Olave is an easy play for me. And then I would keep rolling with Rashad White. A bit of a fantasy step backward for James Cook this past week after seeing 20 touches the week before. So I think I would trust Rashad White, who is, the running game for Tampa Bay obviously hasn't been great. The matchup this past weekend didn't help, but to me, Leonard Fournette just looks like he's running in sand. And I think White is the better option for that team. He's a wonderful receiving threat too.
He had a holding call back a big-ass touchdown. But Brandon is asking, is Mike Evans droppable at this time?
Droppable? I don't know. If you're playing in an 8-team league, I guess he's droppable, where you only start 2 receivers, something like that. But in most leagues, Mike Evans is not droppable. I mean, that that really stung when you said that, because I've got Mike Evans in a couple leagues where I need, Did long
you see
touchdown.
That touchdown they called back?
Brutal, absolutely brutal. It was the play of the season from Mike Evans, whose year has been littered with drops and miscommunications with Brady, and they finally connect on a deep ball. Nobody else in the camera frame, and we get a holding call that negates it. So that's that's perfectly in line with the rest of his season. But no, I wouldn't drop him. He's got the Bengals coming up. That's a frisky defense, but they did just lose Hendrickson up front. So we'll see. I mean, Mike Evans still should be a premier red zone target. He was last year. He's just having the worst season of his career.
Chris Moore from Houston. Has he become a flex with the injuries to Nico and the boys?
I think it's, yeah, I mean, you said it. I think it's really a function of the injuries elsewhere. I wouldn't count on anything from Brandon Cooks rest of season, but I think Nico Collins probably comes back. And when he does, I don't think that's a passing game that can support more than one, exciting startable receiver. If I were stashing anyone, I'm just thinking of some of the names that are on the waiver wire right now in a lot of leagues. I'd want McCole Hardman ahead of him. McCole Hardman has a chance to come back this week. And if that happens, he was basically he turned into a huge part of the goal line offense before his injury, right? He had 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games. So he would be a little bit more interesting to me. You mentioned DJ Chark. He would be a little bit more interesting to me. Jahan Dotson, Washington, saw 9 targets before his bye. He'd be a little more interesting as well.
Okay. Question is, Waddle and Evans have been my number 1 wide receivers in 2 all year. Should I start leaning on my bench with Devonta Smith, Ayuk, and Judy as we head into the playoffs?
I will say, Jerry Jeudy was on a lot of fantasy benches this week, and I'm sure I told people to bench him. Had a monster week, had 3 touchdowns. Denver entered that game averaging 13.8 points per game on the season. That has been who they are for most of the year. So I think you just tip your cap to Jerry Jeudy and say that's a job well done. I'm not imagining that it's going to happen again and again and again. So I don't think I'd go to Judy. Devonta Smith is super interesting, though, because that's just that offense is scoring 35, 40 points a week, right? And Devonta is a huge part of it because it's kind of down to Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown in that passing game. So Devonta Smith is certainly someone that you can feel good about. Well, I haven't done my ranks yet for week 15, but Devonta ahead of Mike Evans and possibly Waddle as well seems plausible to me. So Devonta is the most tempting name from that list.
Where are we at with Jordan Mason?
Cleanup duty for him in the, what a weird game, right? Like obviously the Niners were favored. The Niners are a very good team, but to just pummel Tampa Bay like that. But like we didn't see that much of Jordan Mason until it was just mop up duty. So I would expect it to be like that moving forward. They've got a quick turnaround. They've got an even quicker turnaround than you guys do. They play on Thursday at Seattle this week. Mason is really just somebody that you might count on for like 8 to 10 carries, probably not a lot of action as a receiver. Probably going to spell Christian McCaffrey a little bit, but he's a secondary option for that team for sure. Somebody that you can stash and maybe it'll pay off down the road, but it would really require an injury to McCaffrey.
All right. Tell them a little bit about Yahoo Sports, my friend. How do you get everybody else involved there as we get ready for the playoffs?
Yeah. Playoffs. Okay. We're like must-win weeks coming up. I've got a pickups column coming out tomorrow morning. Look for that at sports.yahoo.com/fantasy. And we've got a pickups podcast that I'm going to record here in a couple hours with Matt Harmon too.
By the way, they're asking Ravens or Jets D this week.
Oh, that's a fun one. I'd probably go Ravens. Again, the Jets face the Lions, and the Lions have been the Lions are one of the best offenses in football. And that isn't even new. Like they're on this little winning tear right now, but they were a great offense early in the season when they were giving up a zillion points.
They've won 5 of 6.
Wild. So Dan Campbell's fun. Dan Campbell's really fun.
He is fun, I gotta say, yeah. and doing even better than I thought he would do because I never really buy that rah.
I don't either. But when it works and it comes in a package like this, it's pretty fun.
Right. He makes it fun. There's no doubt about that. And you know what? The thing about Dan, he looks like a cool dude.
Yeah,
like a guy you want to hang out with. Like most coaches. They look kind of boring, and there's a couple of guys you might want to hang out with, but there's a lot of those guys you probably don't want to hang around with. Dan Campbell's one of those guys you want to hang around with.
Oh, I know. Dan Campbell's somebody that is still like he still hangs out with like all his junior high friends, all his high school friends, right?
Right.
They just open somebody's garage and sit around and drink beer when he's in the off season.
He's still bullshitting with the fellas, which is
I love that
actually really, really cool. All right, follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens, and of course catch his work there at at Yahoo Sports. That is, I was going to say sports. What? Yahoo Sports. Check it out there as always. Andy,
I gave you too much gibberish. Thanks, Big O.
Catch up next week, my friend. Thank you. There you
Later,
go.
brother.
Andy Behrens, as we head into the playoffs. Remember, Scott Pianowski will join us on Friday, Mondays and Fridays at noon with our Sports Grill Fantasy Football Zone.
You've been listening to the Sports Grill Fantasy Football Zone with Yahoo Sports' Andy Behrens. Go to sportsgrill.com to find a great location near you. Fantasy football fans, subscribe to the Big O Radio Show on YouTube and all other platforms to catch up with all our fantasy football insight provided by Scott Pianowski and Andy Behrens.
All right. We thank Andy Behrens, and don't forget, folks, to smash the hell out of the like button. Please smash the like button. It gets the algorithms going. And tell your friends about the platform so they can subscribe. Help us get to 20,000 subscribers. We're getting closer and closer to 17. We're at 16.8, and we thank you all out there. As always, thank you. Let's see. QB like Purdy and Mike White are out there, look better than Tua right now, which is embarrassing. It is what it is. And this is the corner that Tua, unfortunately, Tua has spent his professional career fighting people that doubt him, correct? And you were fighting them off. You had proven them pretty much close to all wrong already. You were on the brink of putting the nail on the coffin. And then these last 2 weeks came. And I can't do anything about it. I can't make excuses for you. I can't defend you. I did it last year. I can't do it now because you don't have anything to defend you. So what's left? And I told you in the pregame show that Tua was competing against himself, not Herbert, not anything else, because of what happened the week before. And now it becomes an even bigger challenge for himself because he just gaslit every negativity that was out there for him. So now you've got it going on. And now you've got to fight those people again. I'm not fighting them for you right now. I can't. You give me no material to do it. So those of you out there that think he's a failure, you got something to stand on. Those of you that think he's not a franchise quarterback, you got something to stand on. I can't argue it now. As much as I believe in the kid, as much as I think he'll fight through this and he'll overcome it, I'm just going off of my belief. I got no proof right now. You have the proof. The haters have the proof. You had two really important games the last 2 weeks, and you shit the bed. There's nothing else we can say. Now it's Tua that has to bail himself out and give us some material to defend him. Okay? Because I cannot defend what happened the last 2 weeks. I will not defend what happened the last 2 weeks. I'll defend what happened the last 2 years. I can fight for Tua on that one. I can be a better left tackle than Teron Armstead ever will be for him in that sense. But I call it like I see it, man. And last couple years, I can't blame him with everything that was going on. But now, so it's up to him now. He's got to fight everybody else off and give us the material again so we can actually defend him. But anybody that makes excuses for Tua over the last 2 weeks, they're just not objective. And I have not seen Tua make an excuse either, by the way, to his credit. He has taken the heat. He has pointed the finger straight at himself, and he is not passing the buck on to anybody else. He's not pulling any Zach Wilsons or anything like that. So credit to him in that sense, which he's a great young man. So I expect him to be, brutally honest. As much as it might be painful to him, I expect him to be brutally honest. But now, kid, it's up to you now. Now you got to find a way to win. You got to find a way to overcome. And that's the one thing that he has not proven that he can, overcome here the last 2 weeks. No defense, man. None. We got Ira coming up. Love the Heat organization. Best organization in town by miles and miles and miles and miles. I think Eric Spoelstra is one hell of a coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Eric Spoelstra can't get his bunch to play defense. The last 2 years, I have seen a decline in overall Heat defense like I've never seen before in my life. Falls on Eric Spoelstra. What can I do? Got to call it like you see it, man. What's gone on with the Heat? Unacceptable. As great as an organization as they are, unacceptable. Paul Maurice. What's going on with him? Unacceptable. I mean, you got to call it like you see it, unfortunately. And it was great what you were doing when the offense was rolling. But now the last 2 weeks, when they need that offense, you don't show up. That's not what you're supposed to do. Bam was on a tear for several games. Well, against the Spurs, 12 points. They can't afford that from Bam. He's got to bring it every night like his buddy Jimmy Butler does every single night. Got it. You got to admire the crap out of Jimmy Butler. Holy shit. That man lays it out every single night. But he doesn't have a team that can actually do the same thing every night. You're put in positions to perform. Paul Maurice and the Panthers, not performing. Miami Heat, not performing. McDaniel and Tua, last 2 weeks, not performing. And it has nothing to do with the defense. I don't care what that weird-ass formation was on third downs. You had more than enough time to win that game yesterday. You lost it by 1 score. Your offense couldn't score. That was the problem. Got to call it like you see it when you're not getting it done. All right, let's talk a little basketball with the aforementioned Ira Winderman and our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report.
Heat fans, time for the best insight of your favorite team with insider Ira Winderman, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. It's the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report. Here's Ira Winderman.
There he is. I don't know what the hell is going on in this town, dude. God bless. That was brutal on Saturday, brutal on Sunday.
Yep.
Watching the Kraken beat the Panthers and then watching the Miami Dolphins, especially the offense, shit the bed for 2 weeks in a row in 2 very important games. Very disappointing, but it's so unheat-like what I'm watching and watching that Spurs loss, and that defense is just not. It's not Heat. It's not the Heat defense that I'm spoiled with, Ira.
It's the worst man-to-man, statistically ranked defense in the NBA. Think about that. A Pat Riley franchise, and that's what we're talking about. But you know what, Big O? And I like how you mentioned on the crosstalk the quality of coaches and that it's beyond just the coaches. I was working out here at the hotel this morning and hearing Rex Ryan saying, how the Dolphins coaches were incredibly outcoached. And I'm like, well, if there were a few throws on target, though, if there was, a couple of more plays that were made, it's not just the coaching. If you are going to play non-defenders like Tyler Hero as a featured player, you're going to get Tyler Hero defense. If you're going to play a largely immobile Dwayne Dedmon off the bench, you're going to get largely a mobile second-string defense. If you're going to play Kyle Lowry at 36, an older point guard against the whippersnappers, to use an old man
zero defense.
You're going to get old man defense, and that's what you're getting. We know this system works. This is not like the Dolphins experimenting with different systems to fit Tua and all that. The young quarterback coming together. This is not a team building around a young player. What Tua is going through is what all Heat young players have gone through. Honestly, what Bam went through against a Popovich defense on Saturday, that'll happen. He's still growing into his game. Tua's growing into his game. But when you have an older roster and you're struggling like this now, that's where the real questions come in. The Heat are built to win now. The Panthers are built to win now. So if not now, then whenever. So yeah, it's a point of concern. But you know what? The one thing I'm learning is this Heat team, and Spo hates when I mention this, I think there's an institutional arrogance. We'll turn it on when we need to. Both during the season and in games.
That's
You're seeing this, Big O. You're seeing it against against the Clippers, which they managed to pull it out, against the Pistons, against the Spurs. It's almost like they're going through the game and going, this team stinks. We'll get them in the second quarter. We'll get them in the third quarter. We'll get them in the fourth. We'll get them in the last 6 minutes. We'll get them in the last 2 minutes. The game's over and you lost. And the same thing on the season. Oh, we're just 3 games under 500. We're only 4 games out of 4th place. We'll catch up to it. We'll get it going. The Celtics did it last year. You know what? The Heat have so much working against them. Luxury tax, only 14 players, carrying Udonis Haslem, injured players having to shift their two-way players. There's a hell of a lot in play here. And my question is this, to Heat management, to the Arisons, and to everyone. Do you consider yourself a championship contender or a contender? Because if you do, you spend into the tax, you don't cut Drew Smith just to bring Orlando Robinson, you keep both. You bring in a player if it puts you over the tax because you want to win now, or Big O privately, which they will never tell us and never tell you on the Big O show. Are they saying to themselves, yeah, this isn't our year? And if they are saying that privately, you'd almost wish to know it publicly, or else you really sort of question the direction they're at right now.
Yeah, no, you're right. Or the commitment, because that's kind of been my issue with the whole tax stuff. You know what I'm saying? And
you're spot on. And you're spot on. And look, I agree. I'm not going to spend into the tax if I'm not going anywhere anyway. Not only is it the money, it's a $10 million payment. I don't care about that. That's Nick Arison. That's balancing the books organizationally. There is the repeater tax. So if you're saying, look, Tyler Hero's extension's kicking in. We're going to go out and get a big fish. We always talk about the big fish. Bam's extension kicks in. We're going to be a tax team. Let's not be a repeater tax team. Then it hurts your product also because you can't sign certain players, use certain mechanism. That part I get. But if you're saying right now that you're a contender because we're the Miami Heat and we always contend, then some of the moves you've made are baffling. Look at it this way, Big O. Gabe Vincent's not available to play for this team right now, but they still cut a point guard in Drew Smith. So tonight, the Miami Heat will go against the Indiana Pacers here with 1 point guard on the roster, Kyle Lowry. What happens if he gets injured? What happens if Tyler Hero gets in foul trouble? Yes, I know what the organizational line is. Jimmy can handle. Bam can handle. Don't they have enough on their damn plate already that you don't want to load up more? But if you're telling me, hey, Ira, we're not going into the tax for this team. Have you seen this team? You know what? I would have no argument right now. I don't mean this condescendingly, but right now, the Miami Heat, and I'll ask you this, Big O, are the Miami Heat a championship contender right now on December 12th?
Hell no.
Are the Miami Heat an Eastern Conference #1 seed contender right here on December 12th?
0.
And at this point last year, the Boston Celtics were also craptastic. And they said, screw it. The Dennis Schroeder thing is not working. They said, screw our lineup. We're going to move Grant Williams in there and get someone better defensively to help our team. They made major moves. So where are the Heat right now? Are they ready to make major moves? Are they ready to make their version of the Derek White trade? Think about that trade. Boston extended Josh Richardson early last year and then traded him because they said this isn't good enough. And Derek White will help us. And Derek White, we saw it in the Heat series, the East Finals, helped the Celtics get all the way to the NBA Finals. So where's the move? What's going on here? We hear about December 15th, players become trade eligible. Okay, we're 3 days away. I'm waiting. But if inside internally they're saying, hey, we're not going to trade any future picks. We're not going to go into the tax. We know who we are. You know what, Big O? I would accept that also. Will be a playoff.
Okay, but why did you make the Lowry move then? If you're making a Lowry move, it's because you thought he was good enough to make you a championship contender. So are you telling me a year later, yeah, we screwed up and we just need to get through this and that's why we're not? But then again, when was the last time that they were a tax team?
they haven't been a tax team now for years. And even when they were a tax team, they've rarely been in position to be a repeater tax team. They always get out of it. So, yes, I know Kyle has 1 year left in Tyler's thing, but you know what? Andy Ellisberg can work ways out. I think you can get into the tax now and get out of the tax by February 10th, the trading deadline, because Andy's unbelievable. The refunds he gets me annually in my taxes are remarkable. So that's possible also. It's just interesting to me. This is the balls to the walls team. They're always playing for it all. They're going for it all. They're not worried about Victor Wembanyama or anything like that.
Well, that's the front office. That's not the ownership.
I think that can be lockstep if the ownership can make a compelling case. But if Orlando Alzagari on December 12th at 12:30 p.m. cannot make a compelling case, I think it's hard for Pat Riley or Adam Simon or Eric Spoelstra or Andy Ellisberg to go into the ownership suite and say, you know what? If we just do this one thing, because let's talk about the one thing. The one thing in the offseason that didn't happen was PJ Tucker. They lost him. We could talk about 38 years old, 3-year contract, paid through 41. He hardly has been lighting it up. Caleb Martin's done a good deal. But you can make an argument about Jay Crowder. Let me ask you this, Orlando Alzagari. Does Jay Crowder make the Heat a championship contender?
No.
Okay,
no,
so you don't look at that kind of move to go into the tax. So it's hard to go to
listen, Ira, the real problem was you already effed up your championship run by adding Kyle Lowry. And that's really what ended up.
Did you F it up when you were one game from last season's NBA Finals when Kyle was injured late? Because also sometimes stuff happens. That was his first soft tissue injury in years. So they were there last year.
But even if you get there, it's a miracle you got there. You really weren't going to win the NBA.
Okay, and that's like saying that LeBron's bad Cavs teams did that also at times, and I understand they got there. You could even make an argument for the Heat in the bubble that the Lakers were just a better team, even if Bam and Goran weren't injured.
Well, that team had a different groove to it. See, sometimes I also have to give you credit when you are playing well, and there was this chemistry with that team at that moment. They had that magic in the bottle until Bam and Goran got injured. They literally could have surprised that because that Laker team was flawed, and the Heat team was deep enough, and they were young enough that they didn't know what the hell that they were doing. That they could have surprised the hell out of
They fooled around and fell into a championship. Okay, and I get all that.
It reminds me of the 03 Marlins.
Right.
The 03 Marlins that, they had a couple of veterans.
Wild card Marlins. Yes, they were a wild card team.
But they were a wild card team, a young team. And here's Clemens throwing at Cabrera's head. And Cabrera's like, oh, really, old man? Okay, I'm going to deposit it in right field. Shit like that you're like, young people aren't supposed to do this to seasoned veterans in baseball. That's the kind of that Miami had that little bit of magic that they could have been that team that shocked the world in that year. But unfortunately, the injuries derailed them. This team, last year's team was never in the kind of offensive groove or defensive groove that other team was.
But I'm going to say you're going to point to the Kyle Lowry move as the one that took this off the rails.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to sell you on last year's run to the number 1 seed and the East Finals, and you might disagree. What I'm going to say to you is this, Big O. There have been moves since then that I think also put it off the rails. I think Tyler Hero, you could talk about the contract or not, but Tyler Hero as a starter completely disrupted the bench rhythm, and you had to deal with that. Number 1. Number 2, you had limited off-season funds, and I understand bird rights matter, but giving that $6 million-ish contract to Dwayne Dedmon, not the money best spent based on Dedmon's age and his injuries where he stands right now. Giving the money to Victor Oladipo, and what he's done and just doesn't play is 3 games into his comeback, and we're into December. Again, no payoff on that. Then there's the other thing, and I wrote about this in my Ask Ira column today. I love the Heat developmental program, but at a certain point, you have to look at it and say, okay, let's stop in the moment and assess. Duncan Robinson, they got him to be good enough to get a great contract, and then it stopped. He doesn't play, only because Max Strus got benched the other day to Duncan even enter the game in the second half. Let's look at Max Strus. God bless him. He can do certain things well. But now when you look at his overall game and what he's doing, he sort of hit a wall of this. Consistency. Can Max Strus consistently do it? He has been so up and down all season. No. Then you look at backup point guard. Okay, we're going to go with Kyle Lowry, and our backup point guard is going to be Gabe Vincent, who I love as a person. He's as mature as anyone I've been around. but he's shooting like 20% on threes this season, and he's been hurt also. A lot of times it's the small moves, and I'll tell you why. The Miami Heat teams have always been built this way, have to be in lockstep. Some other teams with great players. We've seen this with LeBron. If you have LeBron, you have a chance. If you have Nikola Jokic, you have a chance. The ultimate top 5 players can lift their teams. Jason Tatum can do that at a time. The Heat don't have that. Jimmy Butler is a top 15 player, I would say, and we can get all our lists out. He doesn't always make all NBA. So the thing is, everyone has to play well. And when it's not in lockstep, and when your developmental players aren't complementing the way they have to, it sort of goes to crap. This is very much a team where it just can't be 1 or 2 players, where it has to probably be every night 4 players. So when Bam is off like he was on Saturday, even against the frickin' Spurs, that's what happens. I love the system. I love the commitment. But Big O, and by the way, I've watched a lot of these Big O shows and your Dolphins pre- and post-game shows, your pre-game show. You're off every now and then also. We all are. No one goes 7 for 7 during the week. But it's almost like the Heat are counting that every single night Kyle Lowry has to be good, Tyler has to be good, Bam has to be good, Jimmy has to be good, because that's all there is. And if you have the great Giannis, if he's great, you're always going to have a chance. That's why they're a first-place team, because they have a player like that. Look at what's happening now in Houston. Joel Embiid, 50 points a night. He can single-handedly lift your team. Jimmy can't single-handedly lift you all the time. He will do it 2 playoff games a year, and it'll be fantastic. He'll do it 2 or 3 regular season games like the Boston overtime games, and it'll be sublime. But he's not in every – he just doesn't have that.
He's
and
not a dynamic scorer. That's why he's not
an innate scorer, and he's not a high volume shooter, and he's 33 years old. So everything on the Heat has to be in lockstep. That's a hard way to try to have to win. So it's almost like the Dolphins. You can get the 2 with Tyreek plays, and maybe that'll spark you, but there has to be more than the home run ball. You can't be hitting 2 homers a game and striking out like Stanton the rest of the time, because eventually it comes back to bite you in the butt.
Yeah, no, I'm 1,000% with you, and great points on all the little moves that also have created major problems for the Miami Heat. And just to add on top of it, which is exactly one of the factors why they're in this position. But on my Lowry thing, one of the things that I always said, once you sign Butler, you must find another superstar next to him. And that money that you're giving Lowry is superstar money. And that's where I think you failed, that you didn't add the right star, but you were making, Butler happy now.
Yes, and that's the thing. And I don't want to say deal with the devil. I don't want to put Jimmy that way, but that's what happens when you
he's
get
dealing
Jimmy
with
Butler,
it now. He's got to deep down inside. Got to say, I misled my own franchise, and I screwed up my own path.
He wanted his buddy there, and that's what he got, and so you have to deal with it. When you get Jimmy Butler, you have to make the Butler concessions. When you get LeBron, you have to bring on Mike Miller and cut Michael Beasley, and that worked out fine. When you get certain players, they're not in the ownership suite. They're not in the GM suite, but you want to keep them happy. Jimmy wasn't happy in Chicago, it went to crap. Jimmy wasn't happy in Minnesota, it went to crap. Jimmy was sort of happy in Philadelphia, but didn't get everything he wanted out of there. That's part of the deal of the devil you make with players like that. Some players are selfless. You don't wind up as much. Dwayne Wade was that largely during his career. Other players, that's what it is. But Jimmy Butler did help get this team to the finals in 2020, within a shot in 2021, 2022. So you have to deal with that also.
He likes Michelob, and Kyle Lowry is being Michelob Light, unfortunately.
Well,
what do you think?
I'm sorry. He likes Kyle Lowry when Kyle Lowry was about 4 years younger. You know what, Big O? We all look at that. We all remember the girl or from college or high school, and you see the picture now and you're going, yeah, she changed a little bit, didn't she? I remember the Winderman picture when he used to have hair. Things changed. I think that it's sort of the equivalent of Jimmy looked at Kyle with a big bushy head of hair and remembered him as a championship player, and now it's 4 years later. That's what you get.
Yeah, you're right about that. All right, Pacers tonight. I'm not really comfortable with this one. I don't care that all the
lost here already. We lost here already.
And all that. Yeah.
You know what? This is what I'm trying to say. The Pacers are a give a crap team. Everyone said they would be crappy, and they want to prove everyone wrong, whether it's Halliburton, whether it's Mathurin, the rookie who's come in, whether it's Miles Turner resurrecting. They are playing with a purpose. I haven't seen a purpose out of the Heat. I've been seeing the Heat arrogance of, oh, we're the Heat. We're going to win. We'll turn it around. These young teams can be dangerous for the Heat. We saw that against the Spurs. Tonight you have the Pacers. Wednesday night you have an Oklahoma City team that's been surprising teams intermittently. We've seen the Rockets come up with some wins. The Heat are playing there on Thursday. The Heat got to get over their arrogance. The Heat got to get over going into every game thinking, well, of course we're better. Because right now you're just another team.
Yeah. It's kind of ugly. By the way, what are your thoughts on the Panthers?
It's funny because I was traveling yesterday. I'm not going to mention the airline, wound up with a 5-hour delay. So I literally incrementally watched all these games. The Panthers are doing a very dangerous thing in sports. They try to completely change their style after a playoff loss to get ready for the playoffs. The problem about getting ready for the playoffs is you have to get into the playoffs. And that's what's happening right now. They had this wonderful, freewheeling, open offense. It was fantastic last season, but they felt after what happened to the Lightning, we have to play a different style. Well, style B requires an adjustment, requires a step back. This entire Panther season will be predicated on what they do in the playoffs, but you also have to make the playoffs first. Same thing with the Heat. It's like the Heat might wind up in the play-in, and all of a sudden, 2 losses later to the Raptors, and you're out. It's a very dangerous game trying to change who you are in the wake of success. So for the Panthers, it'll be all or nothing in April.
They are 4-9 in their last 13 games. Miami and the Heat are 5-8 in their last 13 games. Wow.
And the Dolphins, I think, are 0-2. And the Dolphins, I think, are 0-2 in their last 2 games. So thankfully, we have Coach L and
pain everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
Pain
Thank you,
everywhere.
Coach L, for keeping us afloat. If it's not for Coach L, we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah, Coach L always does a hell of a job. All right, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. More importantly, subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel so you can keep up with everything with the Miami Heat and leading up to tonight's matchup against the Pacers. And obviously, he'll keep you updated throughout the game. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Ira, thank you. We will catch up later on in the week.
Catch you on Wednesday on our redrecover.com Inside the Paint, 9 a.m. with Kurt Heelan. Back on another Acura Pembroke Pines report on Friday from the airport in Houston. Thank you, Big O.
You got it, my friend. Thank you. There he is, Ira Winderman. Whew, boy, tough. What's going on with the Miami Heat? That is your Miami Heat and NBA report.
You've been listening to the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report with Ira Winderman. When you're looking for award-winning service and great deals from the #1 volume Acura sales dealership in the Southeast United States, you go to Craig's Inn Acura of Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
All right. Yeah, you think about that, bro. The Heat are 5-8 in the last 13, and the Panthers are 4-9 in the last 13 games. That is rough, dude. Rough. That's bad. That's the equivalent of being 0-2 in the NFL in the last 2 weeks, because every loss in the NFL is equivalent to like 2 weeks of losses in hockey or basketball, since it's such a odd combination. Rodney says the Heat are such a disappointment this year. Both. So are the Panthers. I know you probably don't care about the Panthers. I love the freaking Panthers. Then notice that I haven't really talked a lot of Panthers this year. I haven't even brought on George or David at all, because there's nothing good to talk about. And all it is I'm tired out of defending the Panthers and them falling short every year and not living up to any kind of expectations and not really providing any expectations for any of us. And last year we had this beautiful season, and now it's kind of gone to crap because they wanted to change everything about the team. And, I don't know. I'm tired, man. I watch every Panther game and I watch every Heat game. I don't miss them. I love watching them, unless I have to go to a concert or something. Then I'll come back and watch it later on. Or if it's going on during a Dolphins game, I'll record it and then watch it later on. But notice that I haven't done anything on the Panthers this year because it's just not worth it. there's nothing good to talk about with them. And I'm tired of talking about a team that is constantly underachieving. They've been doing it for 20 years. And I'm a big fan of Viola and Sifu. I think they're fantastic owners. I think they want to win badly. They've made a commitment to this community, second to none with the team and the salaries and everything they're doing over at War Memorial and everything. I mean, it is just awesome. And they're doing their part to grow hockey. It's just the on ice stuff has not completely clicked. And I feel bad for the fan base because they got a lot of hope last year with what happened. And now they come back this year expecting you to be better, and you're not even close to the team you were last year. You're not even anywhere near as entertaining as you were last year. And so now you're going to lose those people that you gained last year during your run and the playoff run and all that stuff. Now people are going to lose interest and they won't renew their tickets again. And it'll get back to that, core 8, 9, 10, 12,000 that go to games. Sucks, man. Deserve better. And as for the Heat, Ira's right. A lot of moves were just bad moves. Bad moves. The Oladipo move has turned out to be a terrible move. Dedmon is a terrible move. Kyle Lowry has been an absolutely horrible move. Duncan Robinson, after you developed him and gave him a contract, well, then you should have traded him as soon as possible. Now he's lost all the value that he gained because now everybody will question, well, was he that guy or is he lost it and they don't know. So now you'll never get any value in return. I mean, listen, for an organization that has done so well with personnel, I'm talking about the Heat, they've kind of mismanaged everything that's gone on lately, unfortunately. Now, they get a complete pass because they've been so productive. They've won so many playoff games. They've been to so many playoff trips, divisions, won the conference, won the title, been to the title game so many times. They have a pass and they can screw up a bunch of times. So that's not an issue. I'm not worried about Spo. I'm not worried about Riley. Now, I don't know how long Riley's going to stay, but obviously his opportunity of trying to rebuild one more championship team, well, they're far away from that now. The only thing that I would be openly critical of with the Miami Heat is that the ownership group is too frugal for a billionaire. Okay? And Mickey Arison cannot cry poor to me. I don't want to hear about taxes for Mickey, and especially Mickey Arison, whose main business is to avoid taxes in the United States of America. Okay? Because his ships aren't registered here. So you do already a ton of money that you're avoiding and paying taxes. If you had to pay some for your basketball team, I'm not feeling sorry for you, bro. I feel you're not doing your job as an owner. How about that? Because if you got money to burn like he does, I need you to go to farther extremes when you can. I get it with Bruce Sherman. Bruce Sherman doesn't have the money. He can't do the things that Stephen Ross does. But Mickey Arison can do the things Stephen Ross does. Right? Is Mickey Arison improving the arena on his own with his own money, or does he keep using county money and city money? Because I see Stephen Ross building everything on his own. His property, everything. He can do the same. I've watched Stephen Ross purchase a team for $1 billion and put another $1 billion into the business. Sure, he's going to be able to get double and triple of that out of it when it's all said and done, but he put into it. I don't see Bruce Sherman putting anything into the Marlins. I'm just saying, dude. So Mickey doesn't get a pass with me at all. You haven't been a luxury tax team in forever. That's why I asked Ira, because we've had this conversation so many times. And, I'd like to see you have more of a crazed motivation to win. Stephen Ross is a total goofball. I get it. Mickey, calm, cool, and collective. He knows his shit. He handles things the right way. Steven doesn't. But the one thing I'll give Steven over Mickey is Steven is desperate to win and shows it all the time and is willing to do anything and everything, even cheating, to win, which, that's the part you would like for him to leave out. Spend the money, be aggressive, build up your franchise, build up your facilities, make it, the most attractive place. Those are all legal ways of doing it, okay? It might go to look, but I give him credit, at least in this sense. He will do anything and everything to win. Will Mickey Arison do anything and everything to win? I know Sifu and Viola will do anything and everything to win. I know Jorge Mas will do anything and everything to win. I can't say Bruce Sherman's going to do it, and I can't say Mickey Arison's going to do it. Bruce has an excuse. What's Mickey's? Viola, Sifu, brother, they'll spend and they'll do anything. I like that. I'm impressed with that. That's what a billionaire is supposed to do. It's supposed to be kind of a toy for him or her or the family. If you're too much worried about cost analysis, then you're not the right billionaire to be the owner. Just say. Appreciate what the family's done overall, but got a little bit more to do, I need to see from the Arisons what I see from Moss, what I see from Ross, what I would see from Viola and Sifu. They will do anything to win. And the beauty for Mickey is you have the front office overall. They do more often than not, they will make the right moves. Are they perfect? No. We just talked about Dedman. We just talked about Oladipo. We just talked about Lowry. They're not perfect. Whiteside, Johnson, and Jordan and Dion Waiters. They're not perfect. They're going to make some mistakes. Juwan Howard, years ago, they got lucky that the commissioner saved their ass and reversed that deal, but that would have been a mistake. There's been mistakes made. Sasha Danilovic, mistake. Letting Wade go, mistake. To pay for Whiteside, mistake. They're not perfect. Nobody is. But overall, that front office is great, and they do a fantastic job. I can't say that the ownership group is willing to go to the extremes that the front office does. And so maybe that's why the front office is forced to take risks with an Oladipo, because you're not willing to go the extra mile. And this is why they have to go find an unearthed talent off of the street, because you're not willing to go buy disgruntled talent somewhere and overpay or pay or whatever. I believe the ownership group of the Miami Heat makes it a little harder, not easier, for its front office to win. That's really what I'm trying to tell you. And can you really argue with me on those points? Really? I don't think so. Big O Facts. Ross McDaniel have surrounded Tua with players. Let's not forget that this is the first time head coach he will step up on his Richard. I don't know what that means, but I think you got faith in them to turn it around. Well, let's go. I got faith that Tua will figure it out and he'll play better and he'll get back on track. But I still need to be proven right. And right now, any of the haters and the doubters, they have all the material. I don't have any right now. I need Tua to give me material. So it's up to him. The Ravens blew that game as much as Tua had anything to do with winning it, kind of wearing out. Yeah, right. No, I get it, Greg. You know, for you, it's Tua can't play at all. So it doesn't matter what happens because, you know, teams come back from 21 down all the time. All the time. It happens all the time in the NFL. Anyway, sometimes when you're stupid, you should probably just keep your mouth shut. I don't think Tua is rattled per se. I think it's in his head. He's not playing to his strengths. He keeps trying to play to his weaknesses. No, I just think he's making bad decisions out there. And I think McDaniel's also part of those bad decisions. That's what I think. I'm a vegan, and watching a Dolphins slaughter on Saturday is going to be very painful. What else do we have here on let's see, Ravens game. They were down 21 to us, wildly inconsistent right now, only his third year, and we're acting like he's a 10-year veteran. Next year we'll tell all about No, Dennis Rocker. No. That's there's no next year we'll tell about Tua. You're finding out about Tua right now. And you have 4 more games and hopefully the playoffs where he will erase all this stuff. But this is not about waiting till next year. No. Last 2 years, he didn't have what he needed to succeed. He has everything he needs to succeed right now. And he should have had success last night. And so should McDaniel. So this is a test for him and McDaniel, by the way. McDaniel does not get a pass from last night. Okay? McDaniel deserves serious criticism for what happened last night. Do not give McDaniel any kind of a break for what happened last night. Remember, you can make a donation through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. How's the market doing? What do we got? Bitcoin still over 17. So still hanging in there. And stock market. Let me see what's going on with the stock market. Oh, hopefully it'll get better sometime next year, ladies and gentlemen. I think the stock market, I think crypto and everything will start to explode in the second half of next year. Once the Feds start easing up now, and they'll probably go with a half a point in the next one, and then maybe a quarter, and then it's over. And then they'll start to, ease up. And I think by the second half, starting in July and August, I think that's when we start to turn things around. And I think you'll see stocks and crypto and all that stuff explode. So for those of you that have been hanging on in the bear market and you've been loading up on Bitcoin and Ethereum and anything else you like, or Tesla or Apple or whatever, I mean, let me tell you something, man. If I had money, you know how many I would buy a bunch of shares of Tesla right now. Tesla has gone down so much. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy that loves crypto. But and I don't do much at all in the stock market. I do a little bit, I dabble a little bit, but it's not worthy of anything. But now is the golden era right now for investing, because this is when it's its worst. These last couple of months, anybody that's piling up on whatever. And as long as you can, of course, as long as you can pay your bills and still invest, God bless you, man. God bless you. Those of you 2 years from now, you're going to go, wow, man, I hung in there. I invested. I bought all this Amazon stock or Tesla or Apple or Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. And now it is absolutely exploding. And I think that's what's going to happen, you know? So, but it'll take a little bit because everything is, China easing up now and easing up their COVID restrictions. They get back to work again. Apple, by the way, is being very smart. They're expanding their offices or their manufacturing offices where it's not all in China. Now they're going to go to like 4 or 5 other countries and build some factories so they don't get tied up with some of these lockdowns that they've had in China, which then backs up everything and backs up the entire world. But as long as the chain supply now starts to get back on track, you can start to bring gas prices down a little bit. Obviously, we still have the war, which could throw everything into chaos, especially if Putin wants to go nuclear. So we still have that to overcome. But if somehow or another we can get rid of this war finally, and chain supply gets fixed, I think in the second half of 2023 is when things start to explode. So it doesn't matter what you are in, stock market, crypto market, everybody's taking a bath right now. You haven't lost anything as long as you haven't sold. Okay. Just like you don't make any money, even if your stock or your coin is up 1,000% until you sell, you really haven't made any profit. Until you sell when you're down, you haven't lost anything. But for those of you that are losing big in the stock market or the crypto market, and you're continuing to invest in what you believe in, whatever that may be, if it's a good company and it can survive, I think in a couple of years you're going to be smiling about this. You're not smiling now. Right now you're up to here. You're sweating it out. You're going, is Ethereum really gonna explode? Is Apple going to bounce back? Is Elon Musk going to figure it out with Tesla and all that stuff? And the great companies will still be the great companies when it's all said and done. It's just a matter of having los cojones of hanging in there in a very difficult situation. That's all. So, potential blizzard in Buffalo this weekend. Well, then they'll move it to Toronto again. That's all. They're not going to play in a blizzard, right? So if that happens again, we're going to Toronto. Or, no, I'm sorry, not Toronto. Detroit. Oh, I don't know. Is Detroit? What's it called? Oh, wait, but it's a Saturday. I don't know if Detroit plays on Saturday or they play on the road this week. Can you check for me there, Sean? Is Detroit home or away this week? Now, it is a Saturday game, but I don't know if they would play back-to-back games inside that dome. I mean, why not, right? It's a dome. It shouldn't be a problem. All you got to do is have a cleanup crew late at night come in after the game. What do we got? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I forgot to put myself in. They're at the Jets.
Oh, so even that. So Detroit is open. If there's a blizzard again, like last time, they probably won't play in it again. If it puts people at risk, like last time, you cannot put 60, 70,000 people traveling to and from that game, and then you're putting the public safety at risk. And other people that might be on the road and all that. You just can't do that. So if that happens, it could be moved to Detroit again. Oh, and it won't matter where they play. If it's the Dolphin offense we've watched the last 2 weeks, they have no shot at winning in Buffalo. We need the Dolphin offense from a few weeks back, like 3 and 4 weeks back, not the offense we've watched the last 2 weeks. That offense has no shot to win in Buffalo. I'd love to, convince you of something different. I'd love to feel different, but how can anybody think they got a shot to win? True Fin fan, thank you, my brother. If we don't get in the playoff and Tua's play doesn't get better, what would you do, my bro? I say give him another year. Interest in your thoughts. Oh, you definitely give him another year because he's under contract. But unfortunately, you may have to bring in some competition. You can't go from what he was playing to out of the playoffs. That can't happen, True Fin fan. You cannot do that, my man. I don't believe Tua will do that, by the way. I have not, but just because I'm honest that Tua has sucked the last 2 weeks and has choked like a dog, I still believe in Tua. I still believe he's going to bounce back over the next 4 weeks and play at a high level. I truly believe that. I may be wrong, and that's fine. It won't be the first time. I believe in the kid. I believe he's going to figure it out. I believe he's tough enough, but right now, it's up to him. That's it. That's the only way I can look at it. It's up to him. No one else. I need him now to. I've been his left tackle, and like a lot of you out there that believe in Tua, we have defended him as much as we can. He needs to defend us now. Okay? He needs to come up with the kind of games that we can then say, you see, that was a fluke. Those games, he was in a funk. He played terrible, yes, but he's back on track again. But it's up to him now. We can't make up any stories. We can't make up any excuses for him. There are no excuses. He has more than enough experience. He's played in the NFL now for 3 years. He's got 21-11 now, right? He's 21-11. So that's 32 games played. That's a long time to find out about a guy at this point. So he needs to turn it around for all of us. In order for us to defend him, that's what he's going to need to do. Oh, Lordy. Just sucks, man. It kind of takes the wind out of your sails for everything that's gone on. All right, what else do we have? Herbert scorched Miami. If Tua had Herbert's stats yesterday and Miami won, you'd be hearing the Tua praise in. Listen, you got to give Herbert praise for winning. There's no doubt about it. Now, was he this incredible? No, dude. I mean, he did enough to win. You know what I mean? That's it. He did enough to win. And if Tua wins, that would have been his 9th win. The Chargers are playing for their lives. They're now 7-6. He still doesn't have a better record than Tua. Herbert still hasn't won more games than Tua this season. And Tua's missed 3 games. Tua's won 8 games, and Herbert's won 7. See what I'm saying? So, yeah, obviously, if Herbert drops to 6-7 last night and Tua goes to 9-3, the guy that has 9 wins and 3 losses has to get the praise. And last night, you give Herbert the praise. He showed up, and Tua choked. That's it. You give him the praise. Now, I'm just not going to the extreme that this was this incredible game or whatever. You barely beat a crappy Dolphins team last night because this Dolphins team is crappy. The last 2 games, this is a crappy team. And you beat them by 6 points. They easily could have won. Just one offensive drive. That's it. So, every analyst picked the Fins last night pregame. I knew that was the kiss of death. They were the better team, Ashley. It's not that that's the kiss of death. They were the better team. They were supposed to win yesterday, and they didn't. That falls on McDaniel, and that falls on Tua and some of the receivers. But I'll give it mostly to McDaniel and Tua. Ugh, I have tickets for Buffalo on Saturday. Yeah, that's not going to be a fun game to. You may want to sell those tickets, Brent. I'm dead serious. You may want to sell those tickets. That's not a game that I would enjoy going to if I'm you. But I mean, if you live there already, sell them. If you're traveling, then I get it. It's going to be hard to cancel your flight and all that kind of stuff. Joel says, this is not the same Miami team. We're a good team in a rut. This team knows what's at stake, and I can assure you Tua will be Tua and clutch it out in the last minute like he's always done. Well, not always, because he didn't do it the last 2 weeks. Okay? Oh, man. Big O, did you see the point differential home versus road for our D last night? Brother, the D did more than enough to win. I don't want to hear anything about the defense. The defense hasn't lost a game this season. The offense has been the reason why you have your 5 losses. Defense has not lost one game. They've played well enough for you to win every single game this year. I don't want to hear anything about the defense. That's lazy talk to blame the defense. This is all on the offense. That's it. That third down wacky ass call that they did still doesn't matter. You lose by 2 or you lose by 6. You still lose. It doesn't matter. You were going to lose that game one way or the other. Why? Because your offense failed, not your defense. And again, you can't have the defense out on the field for 40 minutes and the offense only 20, 2 weeks in a row. So your defense is out 80 to 40. You can't do that. Defense did more than enough to win. So there you go. Tua needs to win the next week to stop the narrative that he can't win big games with bad weather on the road. Well, these are big games, period. The weather doesn't mean anything to me. Last week was a big game. This week was a big game. Next week's a big game. The weather stuff means nothing. Whether you win or lose is the only thing that matters. Okay, so I'm not giving anybody an excuse for weather. You guys are hanging on too much for weather. You got to win the goddamn game, period. I don't care what you're playing in, a monsoon. I don't care if it's snow. I don't care if it's 112 degrees. And we're talking about one team on the sideline sweating its ass off and the other team is cooling down because they've got the shadier side of the stadium. I don't care what the elements are. The elements don't mean anything to me whatsoever. On Saturday, you either win or you lose the game. I'm not giving you a break. Just like I'm not giving Mike McDaniel a break yesterday, I'm not giving Tua a break yesterday, and I'm not giving Tua a break against San Francisco. We have to be fair. If we're going to criticize people, if we're going to give them all the compliments in the world, like I have with Tua for everything that he's accomplished, I have to be also fair and say Tua has failed the last couple of weeks. And as much as we want to praise McDaniel for his mind and all that good stuff, when he doesn't do a good job of coaching, we have to be fair and we have to point it out. And he failed yesterday. End of story. Okay? By the way, Peter German, thank you for the love on Venmo, sir. Appreciate you. Let me see what you got for us on the comments. Where's it at here? I think the offensive issue is partly schematic. These teams we play are professionals and make adjustments. We didn't. I agree, Peter. That's why yesterday I was very critical, and today I'm very critical of Mike McDaniel. I think he got outcoached badly yesterday. I think he failed his team, his offense, and he failed his defense overall. And once again, please give a raise to Josh Boyer. Okay? That guy can't do any better than what he's done with what he has to work with overall. All right, we are out of here. We thank Ira Winderman, Andy Behrens, Alan Poopart. We thank Sean Stanley, of course, who masters this program and masters the entire platform every single day. We thank all of you out there. Please smash the like button on your way out. If you're watching the show or downloading the show at any time, day or night, please also smash the like button. We will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, same bat channel. Much love out there.